Okay, so I'll kick it off. I'll do a little bit of a spiel, and then jump in and talk to you. Maybe we'll say hi.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay, got it. All right, perfect. So okay, that looks good. All right, well, if I hit all the right buttons, we are live again on a Friday, Talk Power BI, and this one, my friends, is going to be a special episode. So today we have our special guest, Heather Rowe, and we're going to be talking about Power BI for small business. So I do want to introduce Heather, and I do want to get in, but let's just do kind of the tech check. If you're on YouTube and if you can hear us okay, you can see us okay, let us know. And do say hi. Let us know where you're dialing in from. And yeah, so I see Loretta Sue, Eric Briggs is here, Anthony's here. Wow, a lot of our Learn Power BI family members. And of course, Sam is here from Berlin, Germany. Okay, so I'll wait for the other highs. So why don't I tell you a little bit about Heather? So Heather, you were the beta participant in my course, right? That was
Yeah,
back
I've been with you from the
back
start.
gosh, yeah, so I kind of kicked it off in January, started in February. And wow, so and tell us where you work.
I work at, we're a
And
small,
yeah, so I see Loretta.
well, mid to small business. We sell office supplies and furniture. I work
All
out
right.
of Des Moines, Iowa,
Yeah.
and it's a family-owned company. We're in our fourth generation now of the family owning the company.
Nice.
So, and you can see my co-workers moving around in the background there.
That's an office for you. Yeah, that's all good. So, give us a sense of the size of the company. Yeah, we want to
We
make sure.
have
Yeah.
well, we have around. Well, it varies. In the summer, our is really our peak for furniture installations, and so at that point, we're usually around 350.
All right.
Most of the time, we're around. I'd say about 200, 250, somewhere in there, depending on the projects going on.
All right, terrific. Hey, let me just check in. So we have our callers on the phone as well. We have Melissa, Laurie, Kevin, and Steve. As always, our moderator. He'll be keeping an eye on on the chat as well. So hey, folks, I'll say if you're on the phone, just go on mute. Except for Heather, of course. We do want to talk to Heather. So and later, if you have questions for Heather, by all means, go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, cool. All right, so let's check in with our YouTube crowd. Uh, Jen is here. Hello, Jen. Good to see you. James Gambit says hi from LA. And Praveen is here. Donald Paris says middle of Iowa on Amtrak train to Chicago. All right, one accelerated internet. Great. Good to have you here, Donald. John Wilson says hi from Idaho. Great. All right, so Heather, before I do when I feel like so pulled to just start talking about Power BI and how it works in small business, but I want to save that up a little bit. And why don't you tell me a little bit about your personal journey first, about Power BI, maybe even bigger. What brought you to that?
Uh, well, I've always kind of been a self-starter.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, with the exception really of your class, Avi,
Yeah.
I've never tried any formal training for Excel or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I basically have had the attitude all along. It's a machine.
Yeah.
I'm a person. I should be able to outthink the machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not always right, but I do my best. And so I've just always kind of attacked Excel appealed to my analytical mind.
Yeah.
And I ended up in a lot of jobs that just I was doing data. So Excel made sense. I actually worked back in days long ago that I don't even want to remember how many. I worked in a program called Foxbase, which I don't know if you're familiar with
I
or
do.
not.
That was my first school project. Oh my gosh. Like first real project that me and my fellow college mate cooked up for a local video rental shop.
Yeah, so I
Gosh,
kind of
that's so weird.
learned at the knee of a guy who was doing similar to what you're talking about, where you guys built the database.
Hmm.
I was learning how to work with the database he had already built.
Yeah.
But from that and from as you know, with that program, there was a lot of just writing your queries and things like that. There
Hmm.
wasn't a button to push to get this answer. And so from that, I just kind of evolved my Excel journey, worked through working with Macintosh and Excel, and that was a nightmare back in the day.
Hmm.
Finally got to a job where we had PCs, thank the good Lord, because Excel then worked the way it was intended to.
Hmm.
And it just kind of evolved from there. I went from learning some VBA to I found I started seeing stuff on Power Query early on and didn't have the right version of Excel. And then I learned that there was this thing called the desktop software and got all excited because I couldn't convince IT to buy the right software for me yet, but
Hmm.
Excel version wise. But when I found that I could get a hold of the dashboard, it was, oh, well, once I can play with
Yeah.
it in my own system. Uh, and then I started looking around for ways to figure out what was going on with it. Found a couple of books, including yours. And then I started looking for YouTube videos and blogs. And I just happened to be looking at the time that you were trying to form the class.
Yeah.
And so it all
Gosh.
just
Seems like
kind of came
yesterday
together.
and a lifetime
I know
away
it
at the same
does.
time. Yeah. But there's certainly a thread there which I often hear from a lot of other students and a lot of other folks that I come in touch with, which was they kind of got pulled into this, which I love that because that reminds me of Tony Robbins quote where he was asked like, how do you do such high energy events for 5 straight days? How can you bring that level of energy to an event like that? And he said it's easier to do something if you're pulled rather than you being pushed, right? So and
Yeah.
oddly enough, yeah, one gentleman he wrote in about something and he said, Avi, I've believe me, I've tried to kind of love what I do. I've tried, networking. He was working in IT and networking, security, blah blah. I've tried to kind of really like that, but I found data, I found Power BI, and just kind of fell head over heels in love, right? I mean, you know when it happens. So I love that piece in your story. So so you talked to us a little bit about your company. So tell us the experience or what you've seen about Power BI spreading out in the small organizations. It's family owned, fourth generation, all of that dynamic. So tell us about kind of from the start how Power BI got introduced and how did you see it spreading out in the company? How did you see it being used?
Well, really, when it was introduced, I was the only one using it.
All
Um,
right.
and we weren't, it was simply, I was using it at my computer
Yeah.
and it was improving my reports,
Yeah.
but I couldn't disseminate them.
So you found it, right? It's not like somebody told you, "Hey, go check it out," right? It seems like you
Oh,
found
no.
it and yeah, okay. All right, great.
Yeah. No, uh, most of my colleagues think that Excel is, some arcane language. And
Oh
so
boy.
Power BI would just be even beyond that. There's
Uh-huh.
probably about four of us that work here that are considered advanced users of any type.
Yeah.
And one of them is in accounting. That's a good place for him.
Mhm.
Another one's in purchasing. And then we got one in management. I don't know how we ended up with one in management, but,
All
it
right.
happened.
Hey, hold on. Let me just check.
Yeah.
I know they're having a little bit of tech issues on YouTube. let's see. Okay, yeah, they're saying things look back on. Boy, well, you know what? Oh gosh, yeah. So I hope the recording comes out okay because yeah, they have some issues now. I don't want to disrupt this conversation because it's valuable. So folks, yeah, let's see. And of course, next time we'll. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. This looks good. Let me check over here. Okay, so, oh, gosh.
I don't think I think I gave you a Victor and St. Code, but I don't think there was any increases on those. Yeah. You're done.
All right, you know what? We'll let it go. Of course, next time we'll try to see if we can change something the way we run this technical wise. Hold on, let me just see if I can change something here. Okay.
Yeah, I think it said when I ran.
All right. Well, let's see. So, all right, let's carry on. And so you talked about you kind of started it, and I've heard so many stories like that where one person kind of started that journey.
Yeah. I was doing so much. We had recently, or well, at that stage recently, we had lost several people, and just it was, tightening the belts, more people doing less work, or fewer people doing more work.
Yeah.
And I had to have, there was something. I had to find something or I was going to break, quite honestly. Wow. And so I started hunting. That was actually where I was kind of in the middle of my VBA journey at the time, because it was like, okay, maybe VBA is my answer. Maybe it'll make some of this easier, programming things to be imported. And then all of a sudden I started seeing this stuff about how Power BI can do that a lot easier.
Yeah.
All you have to do is use the clean shape transform aspects there, and this is where you want to be. And I went, okay, well, how the heck do I get there? So
that's great.
And I was working on, I think I was on Excel 2010 at the time, still. And so it was a struggle, getting access to the right information. Finally, I'm now on 2016. Goodness knows when I'll get to 2019. But hey, I'm feeling like I'm in modern times now.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. So it's so odd that I see some of the same challenges that I see in big companies. So the sentiment that you shared kind of, I always talk about like overworked and underappreciated, right? So, and big companies have had the same dynamic, and oftentimes a lot of these groups like BI, IT, finance, I mean, they're not like money generating, so they're seen as a cost center. So even big companies, they tend to shrink, and I've seen that happen, and it's almost unfair, where you go from like 10 people to 5 people, and the 5 people are supposed to do all the work. And of course, small company, maybe that's happening to you a different reason, because they've grown and the staff hasn't grown or something like that. But the challenge in the end is the same, right?
Yeah. For us, it was actually a kind of required downsizing at the time. We'd lost some big customers.
Yeah.
And then there had never really been anybody in a data analyst position. My job was to be the sales administrator. I was supposed to run reports on our sales staff and give information to our sales management and coordinate meetings and all secretarial duties, and all of that rolled in together.
Oh gosh, I remember having that conversation with you at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a lot to do. And at the time, when I first started doing it, it was simple, but then they discovered, well, she knows more about Excel than we thought she did. And so she can do this. And, it slowly it added, and things were added to my plate. Then we started losing some people. And we realized we needed to do some analysis of the data that I was presenting, not just give them data, but actually tell them what it means.
Yeah.
Because different people were interpreting things different ways. And So,
Oh
as
boy.
you've pointed out, I don't know how many times I've heard it in your class, one source of truth.
Yeah. But
We
I'm
didn't really have that logic.
yeah, but I'm struck by the fact of how many similarities are there between the challenges you're describing and the challenges I saw within Microsoft. I'm just stunned right now. So
Hmm.
the part where you said that, hey, we're not just cranking out reports, let's just do insights. So I'll share kind of two things. One, Microsoft, when I walked in the group, it was weird. I mean, they would do all this work, and the day before the big meeting where all the big honchos came in for the organization, everybody would be working on the PowerPoint and just obviously using Excel and whatever duct tape, band-aids, whatever, to put that data together, and they would screenshot it, put it in PowerPoint. That was the ultimate destination, and they would present it, and then it was a free for all. So they'll say, oh, yeah, sales were down in that country, and then just anecdotal stuff. So it's say, you know what, that
Yeah.
one customer was saying blah blah blah, and I'm like,
Hmm.
seriously, you're gonna go by one data point? You have thousands of customers. That one customer was saying that if you don't, so it was that dynamic, right? They were just kind of putting like, oh, here's what happened at some level, and no kind of insight, no next level. And talk about the single source of truth. There was one meeting where people couldn't agree whether the sales last year were up or down. Oh, that was a fun, it was funny then, but now when I think back, I was like, wow, seriously, guys. So, gosh,
Yeah, kind of tragic, but yeah.
yeah, I'm really struck by that of the similarities. But let's talk about what you think were the unique challenges for a small company, which you think that may not be there for a big company.
Well, I think one of my biggest challenges, it does come down to the fact that I I am I'm the data analyst department. I'm it.
Yeah,
There's one of me.
yeah. Hmm.
I also
Boy.
still coordinate the meetings, and so I
So you do wear
we
many hats, yeah.
we joke that the hat stand behind my desk is always full and nobody else gets to use it,
Hmm.
because when our IT department has a problem with a customer or with an employee in my building, they call me and say, "Can you go and make sure that his monitor is actually plugged in? You know,
Run.
can you watch him shut down and restart?"
Oh man, you're
It's a
you're
small
it.
business. I'm in.
Wow. But
I'm
so yeah, I mean, I
I'm the
definitely,
person that deals
yeah,
with customers coming in the front door.
yeah.
I,
Yeah,
you know,
gosh. Yeah,
so that in and of itself is a challenge. I can't focus on just VBA. I can't focus on just Power BI.
yeah,
I I can't.
yeah,
I'm a lot of people,
yeah,
and
yeah. And certainly,
and
kind of running my own
there are
company, I can attest to that. You
exactly.
do
And
wear a
there's a
lot of
lot of times
hats.
when people go, "Well, do you need to be learning this new thing when really you already know how to do all of this and it works?" And
Uh,
sometimes it's a challenge if they don't
yeah,
understand that Excel is anything other than arcane,
yeah.
to explain that Power BI, well, quite honestly, most of them think Power BI is magic, but you probably can't see it. But there's a little whiteboard stuck to my cubicle back here, and it actually says "magician at work." One of the girls did that as a joke
Well, now that
because,
you say it, I can read that. Yeah, the text
yeah,
in red.
hmm
Wow, gosh,
because
that's
and I am the
yeah, it's a
person.
blessing and a curse, huh?
Exactly, because I could tell them almost anything. If I've got, if somebody's got a problem, they don't know how to do it in Excel, they come to me. You know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, you kind
well,
of
I'm one
become
of the
the
people they come to
the,
because
the
there
kitchen
are,
sink.
like I said,
Yeah,
we've got others in the building who are certainly that level. They just,
yeah, I, makes sense, and I think that exists to some degree in a large organization, and
oh,
and
I'm
yeah,
sure it
sometimes you
does.
become the it guy. You become
Hmm.
the kind of the kitchen sink, the go-to guy, and again, that can be a blessing and a curse. But I think it's just. To another degree in a small company. And certainly running my own company, I kind of experienced that. I mean, folks who are working for me, they handle multiple roles, and some of them like,
Oh,
why
yeah.
would they be doing these two totally separate things? But
Yeah.
but they
Yeah,
are.
completely different. But but somebody's got to do it, and
Yeah.
this is the person who's got that talent. So no, I understand. I've actually, with the exception of one position, always worked in very small organizations.
Uh-huh.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I worked for one that was a national company, but we were a region that was different from all the other regions. So in a way, we were a small company within a large company.
Yeah.
Um, but
Man.
I worked for a research company years ago back in Texas, and that was probably the largest organization I've ever worked with. And again, we were one lab within a bunch of larger labs, and so we were our own entity, even though there was corporate structure around us.
Yeah.
If you wanted help with something that was within our wheelhouse, there were only 13 of us.
Yeah. You know,
And one of them was the head scientist, and you didn't bug her.
yeah. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm thinking back to my life. I mean, I always ended up working in one big company and the other, but I think for me it was I mean, I obviously didn't have it intentionally. So Microsoft, I worked in the commerce team for 3 years and then switched to the Microsoft Learning team, which had about 300 people. And Microsoft is pretty much a company of companies. So by
Oh, yeah.
chance, I ended up in kind of a small company, which was a nice stepping stone for me to eventually kind of go solo because, I mean, I did see kind of the more freedom and the more access to the management, right? And that sort of stuff. So as far as comes to adopting Power BI deployment, moving towards BI, that sort of stuff, would you say there are any advantages that small businesses have that big businesses may not?
I think the flexibility is that you just mentioned is exactly it. If
Yeah.
you've got the right people, if you've got people that are excited about it and willing to go forward, then if they all they have to do is convince one manager. They don't have to
Wow.
convince a lot of people. And if they can
Oh,
convince that one manager to accept that information, then he's going to
yeah.
sell it to everybody else, or she is.
Yeah.
Uh, we actually, my recent win, if you will, is that in the last several months, I have been working with the gentleman from our accounting department who joined us and was all excited. He was talking to his boss about being able to improve the budgeting processes and things like that. And, you know, because year-end budgeting is a nightmare for everybody. And he wanted to automate a lot of things. And he said, there's this new aspect of Excel that I don't know a whole lot about. And it was Power Query.
Wow.
And his boss said, well, if anybody knows anything about it, it's going to be Heather. And so he and I started, and, you know, he's not open to a class on his own. I've tried to point him to you, actually, because I think I'm not a very good teacher, but I've been teaching him
Yeah.
because he's not willing or ready to take a class yet. But I've been slowly teaching him,
Yeah.
you know, with what I know and what he knows, and we've been
Oh,
cobbling
I'm
things
sure
together.
you're
And,
helping him a ton.
you know,
That's
it's,
lovely.
yeah. But
So
all he had to do was be excited enough about it. And his manager said, hey, if it's going to improve things, it's
yeah.
not going to cost us a whole lot. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Yeah.
now the downside is he and I are both still working pretty much within our own systems. I do have a pro license, and I have built a dashboard for one of our customers. We actually pay for them to have a pro license
Wow.
so that it's on our
Yeah.
platform and we control all of the data.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
That
idea of an enterprise license is completely
yeah.
not
But
going to happen.
But that's pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you would have mentioned in the course, but I don't know that you guys had done that. You built a report for your
Yeah, that
customer.
actually is what got my management team. I was working on it during the course, and that actually got my management team very excited.
Wow. So now I'm getting excited about it, and like, and what's, I mean, when I think about, hey, you built the report for one customer. Now, of course, I'm thinking, wow, what if the next step you build a report for all customers. I mean, maybe that's not the next step, but kind of walk towards that. So is that
Probably the
direction
next
being
step is
considered,
that we would
at
build
least
it for strategic customers.
makes sense? Yeah.
This one was used actually as a tool. The customer needed reporting that, quite honestly, I didn't have the time to do. And they needed it much faster than I could provide it, because they wanted to be able to go in anytime. They actually wanted it to be on our web ordering platform. And because, we sell office supplies, so they said, well, Staples can do this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they can do a lot.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, I know, but that's
so it was a solution for that. And actually, what we ended up building is, I would say, well, I know it's far better than anything Staples would have had, because it's more in depth.
Whew. Wow.
And I actually could show you what it looks like, Avi, if you'd like, because I've taken all of the identifying markers out of it.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's do. Oh boy, that's a bonus I didn't expect. So let's do this. So for one,
I know you'd like to do that.
Yeah. So let's have you present. And man, that's a quote for the books. Better than Staples. I think that's the power of a small business. You can adopt something really quick. So terrific. So
there's some white space in here because of the fact that I needed to remove identifiers.
Okay.
But it basically starts, this is a customer that's got multiple accounts with us. So it starts on this page, and they select the account that they're wanting to review, because we wanted to limit it to only see one account at a time. It made it more impactful for them.
Okay. Makes sense.
And this page actually is hidden from the viewer, but I discovered a trick on PowerBI.com. If a hidden page is your first page in the report, they actually see it. But they only see it once.
Oh, okay.
So if I've saved on this page, which is what I had to do when I uploaded it, I saved it on this page, and they only see this page, and one time, and it's actually how I track the metric to tell me how many times have they been viewing the report. Because this page only comes up one time, so I don't have to worry about they slipped back and forth between pages. And then it just slowly steps them through their purchase information, so they can see their total purchases by sales, by quantity, frequency.
Yeah.
It's showing the top 20 items on this page.
Yeah.
And we designed this so that it's exportable.
And I will say that this looks so clean, and I mean the way I think is a very effective display, kind of high level numbers up top, then some breakdown, and some detail. And I see you got
most of that came from you.
That's great. And I see there's a bookmark to toggle that to a bar chart. Can you just show that? That seems pretty cool. And so some people, is the metric that's being shown, or is that just flip
All
the same
information? All it does
information?
is change the appearance of it. It's just two different charts.
Oh my God! So was it because you couldn't? Somebody really wanted a pie chart?
Bingo.
Oh God!
One of them really wanted a bar chart. One of them really wanted a pie chart. They were both high enough level, and we said, "Okay, fine."
Yeah, but
my boss said, "Figure it out." So I did.
Wow, that's brilliant. But I will definitely vote for the bar chart. I mean, look how much more information it conveys. Switch back to the pie chart. I mean, the pie chart it was one looked big and the second was big, and then you were lost. And switch to the bar chart again. And yeah, you can immediately see that. Yeah, I mean, how much bigger the top one is compared to the next one and so forth. Boy, so guys, yeah, pie chart. It's not Stephen Few's favorite. Stephen Few doesn't love them. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I don't love them either. I can live with them though. Yeah, but that's great. And the slicers. So the data is a superhero here. So slicers are important, but they're not like the information. So they're off to the side, which is great. So Awesome.
Right.
Beautiful.
And I'm looking at actually trying to put the new modern slicers into this, but it doesn't work for me yet. They need to improve those a bit.
Got it. The new visualization
The
pane,
modern
filter
filters.
pane. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I need to get that fixed, or I need that to have some improvements, because I've noticed right now, since this is all filtered from that first page here,
Yeah.
unfortunately these don't interfere or don't interact with the filter pane filters.
Okay.
So
Got
I
it.
made a suggestion on the community site that maybe that should be a possibility. And then we have information by invoice. Well, one of the things that I was able to do is show them manual orders, things that are actually processed where they call our customer service and
Yeah.
they do the ordering for them versus a web order. And I'm going to assume that a company that is just putting some kind of metrics out on their website
Yeah.
is only going to show you your web orders.
Man,
And
I'm
of course,
just kind of
this is
speechless.
all
I'm thinking, take that, Staples. What kind of reporting do they have for the customer?
exactly.
And how
And
fast can they evolve it based on the customer needs, right?
They
That's the
can
key question.
change the period that they're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, that was a bookmark as well, right?
it's a
How did you
bookmark for
bring that
my
up?
filters.
And where did you click to bring that up? I didn't even notice.
Right here where it says
set
set options.
Got it.
And see, this pane, which is repeated on every page, shows what
Shows
filters
exactly
they've
what you've
suggested.
selected. Oh, that's
Because
beautifully done.
I wanted the filters to be very compact, and
Yeah.
so that was the solution for it. And then they specifically needed a report on toner cartridges. What do they buy? So this is just limited information. And again, I doubt very seriously they're going to get that on a standard website. You know, they'd have to have somebody program this for them.
That's true.
what we did.
So a lot of times, whether it's for an external customer or something else, a lot of companies are using some kind of internal tool. I don't know, Salesforce, SAP, whatever, right? And a QuickBooks, and it comes with a set of reports, and
Right.
and it's possible theoretically that those reports would be like awesome, but often they aren't. But even if they were, if you end up needing to like combine it with some data or have some specific requirement, it makes it kind of impossible. And I think that's where Power BI shines, that it's just really, really fast at that, right? It can bring different data sets and can give you kind of exactly what you're looking for. So this was something specifically they asked for, right? So donor report.
Exactly.
All right. Beautiful.
This was actually trying to replace a paper report that we do for them.
All right.
And one that took quite a bit of time to figure out every month.
That's
Shouldn't
terrific.
seem to, but it did.
Yeah,
And then
and sometimes those kind of manual reports, they become a death by a thousand cuts, right? I mean, it's
Exactly.
and the hardest challenge for the analyst who's in that role is that each request in itself seems so small that you can't even say no to it, you know? I mean, how do you say no? I'm like, dude, it's going to take you 5 minutes. And I'm like, dude, I have 1,000 other tasks which take me 5 minutes, right? So so every small step towards kind of automating it, putting it out there, just making it self-service, that's a win. That's a win for everybody.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just a variety of. This one handles all of the accounts within that company.
All right.
And then they wanted to be able to see versus their customized contracts, what were they saving each month? So.
All right.
That's,
so these were like, I don't know, rebates that were offered to them or something like that? What's the same? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to my Microsoft Learning days, and yeah, the sales team, man, they were very creative about creating rebates and sales programs and so forth. And man, but it was hell to kind of manage it all in the back end. And so this is great.
Well, and this particular one was rather. I just redid this one because it was a bit of a nightmare. It had been initially created to look at current state of data.
Yeah.
But, for your savings versus the current state, well, the problem is this can report up to 2 years. And 2 years ago, that wasn't the current state of the data. So they wanted to be able to see it change over time. Maybe this item cost less 2 years ago than it costs today. So I shouldn't be showing savings versus the 2 years ago price. I should be showing savings versus that price 2 years ago. So that was a bit of a nightmare to figure out how to capture both the purchase date and what the initial state of the product was. Yeah. And I broke a rule, Avi. I used a calculated column. But it seemed the fastest way to do it. Yeah. Because I basically put a calculated column on that said, okay, what is the current state as of the purchase date?
Yeah, well, rules are made to be broken. So yeah, so those.
Yeah, I'm just careful frankly, not to break them often.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, whenever I say measures, I favor measures over calculated columns. I always favor the query editor to do the cleanup. I mean, that's where you should be like you're doing the clean shape transform. And right, I mean, don't do the calculation there. Do it in DAX. DAX is where you do the math. But yeah, I break rules. But what I want, at least the way I approach it and the way I teach it, is that as long as it's a conscious decision, as long as you weigh it, right, and you say, exactly, well, this is the guidance, and I'm not going to do that because X, Y, Z, right? That sort of stuff. Terrific. So hey, this was pretty amazing. So hey, folks, if you have any questions about what Heather presented, and I'm kind of blown away because we didn't check in. I just figured it's gonna be my kind of a personal interview, which I do enjoy, and I did want to bring that to you, but this was an absolute bonus. So let me know what you thought about this. If you have any specific questions for Heather, what I would like to ask, well, we do have a question, so I'll save mine. So Kimberly is saying the bookmark you showed for your filters, you said that feeds the set options box. Interested in how you made that happen. Does that only work for entire report, or can it be done to the page level?
It can be done at the page level.
Yeah, can you just dive into the bookmarks thing a bit? Maybe show us the bookmarks pane and the view pane and talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So it's kind of a combined thing. I'll hide these.
Yeah.
In order to make bookmarks work, you also need to look at the selection pane. And if you notice here on the selection pane, I have several that have an icon. It's a tiny little circle down in the bottom of the icon. That means that particular visual is hidden.
Got it. Yeah. So hold on. Let me see if I can zoom in on my side. Oops. I'm trying here. So yeah, folks, there's a small icon here which says don't show, and these other ones which don't have that icon, they are shown. So you can toggle the on or off, right? So that's right. The visual layer, and
so for
all
instance,
of these things you can show them or not.
This one right here called Set Filters is this pink button.
Got it. So can you just toggle one and we'll see how that works. Got it. Perfect.
So if I don't want to see it, I can just toggle it off.
Got it. So you can do it one by one.
Right,
in this
or you
pane.
Can hide them all at the same time.
Ooh, okay. All right. And then bookmarks.
Or you can show them all at the same time, and it looks rather messy.
Yeah, but bookmarks let you handle them in kind of groups, right? So go ahead and show us one of them.
So the bookmarks are over here on the sides. And what I do is I set the page up to look the way I want it to look.
Yeah.
And let me just...
So I like it. I mean, you have named your bookmarks. You have prefixed the page name at the beginning, right? Is that it? So this we're looking at savings report.
We're looking at the savings report. So this is the one that shows the pie chart.
Pane. Got it. So you pie chart and you click on the bookmark again, the savings bar, and
I can click on the button here in the bar chart. So, and because I'm using the desktop software, I have to hold down Control to make that click work.
So can you do me a favor? Just click on the bookmarks pane for a second. Yeah. So click on if you click on the pie. So we see the pie chart. Click on the savings bar. And what brings up the set options? What does that?
That's this one's
on
called
your
filter
filter
pane.
pane. Perfect. So you can do it in the bookmarks by clicking the bookmarks, but then you can link a button or a visual to that bookmark. Can you show that
Yes.
part to us?
Yes. So this Save Settings button down here in the corner, if you go to the visual options, there's an action for buttons.
Yeah. Maybe show us the set options thing. So the one that brings this up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right,
so
this
same thing, really.
button, yeah.
It's on the visualizations pane, you look for an action selection in the button. And your action is of a type. It's either you're going
Going
back,
back. Got it.
where it's a link to Q&A. And
Yeah.
so I want it to be a bookmark, and then it asks me what bookmark I want. I just select it from
Got it.
here. If I'm wanting to build a bookmark, what I do is, for instance, here, I can say I don't want to see this item, and maybe I don't want to see that text box,
Yeah.
and maybe I don't want this bar around things. So I've set up the stuff I don't want to see. I've already hidden it. And I've shown the stuff I want to see.
Got it.
So then once I do that, I just come here to the bookmarks pane and I say add.
Yeah.
It's added
And-
it here immediately.
Got it.
And then I have to select to rename it, and I can select my
Yeah.
options to go with it.
So I don't remember. Is it? Does it? It doesn't. Can you? You can choose the sort order, right? You can like because
The
otherwise that
order of
might
things
bug me.
here.
In the bookmarks list. Oh, you can.
Yeah,
Perfect. Ah,
looks like you
yeah.
can now. You
Nice.
couldn't before,
Okay.
but it looks
Whew.
like you can now.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna repeat it back. So I see it as 3 steps. The first step is just understanding that you have different elements on the pane, and you can manually, through this visual toggle, show them or hide them. So that's
Right.
step 1, and that's a selection pane you're showing us right there. Oops, I was trying to highlight on my side. So that's this pane right there. And the next step is that if you have some a certain functionality in mind, and the setting options or the bar chart, column chart toggle are just a few of like thousands of possibilities with bookmarks, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I've seen other examples, and you can find other examples. So any sort of interaction that you can imagine, which like, oh, now show this set of things, and now hide this set of things, now take them here, take them there, something like that. Then you do that using bookmark, where you kind of anchor it, saying, hey, in this bookmark, I'm showing this set of stuff. I'm showing the options that they can do. I'm showing a bar chart instead of a pie chart. And the last step that you do is you add something on your report which lets them invoke that action. So
Right.
that set options and bar chart are those images. The last time I think I tried it, they had to be images. That you couldn't do
It's
like a text
actually-
box. Oh, is it a button? Oh, okay.
It's a
got it.
button that I use.
Perfect. Can you
but
show that really quick? What happens if you click on the drop down there? What is it? And you can type in your own text there.
Yep. If you use blank, then
What?
this is basically
Oh,
what you
gosh.
get.
I
and
didn't
you
know
can
that.
type-
I don't know if it's new. Maybe it was always there, but I'd never seen it, so I had no idea.
Yep.
So how do you change the text?
You
into
actually
button
come over
text?
here to the visualization and turn on the button text.
Yeah. So guys, how many of you did not know about this blank button? I know I didn't. I just didn't know. You learn something new every day. Yay! Awesome. And it seems so that the curved icon, all of those choices are there, right? I mean that you can get
Yeah,
the curved board because
they're,
that does look nicer. The fill option makes it look more like a button. So that's beautiful
Exactly.
design. I mean, looks beautiful. So start with a blank button and just customize it and customize your text and so forth. Oh my gosh, I feel so happy right now.
You can even add
yeah,
icons to it if you wanted. So if you wanted it to have an arrow in it, you can do
so you
that.
can combine the
or-
text and the icon.
Or like an
Wow.
information icon.
Yeah.
I've seen people use this where maybe that brings up
Mhm.
a help page or something like that.
Yep. Gosh, that's
So
brilliant.
yeah, there's a variety of, and you can of course control the size of everything.
Yeah. So this is really, really nice because, of course, folks, I talk about when I talk about visualization, even inside a course, I pretty much channel my inner Stephen Few. So Stephen Few has been my guru and mentor around visualization, and his mantra is all about less is more. Make the data the superhero. But that does make it challenging sometimes when you have these other elements like information about the report and things like that. And of course, we were talking about bookmarks are kind of a gift that keeps giving. Don't overuse that though. We'll talk about that. But
Yeah,
so
I
you can use.
probably overused them in this report.
I
Quite
don't know. I mean,
honestly.
what you've done
But they
here
were
looks
needed.
really elegant. I'll talk about the extreme scenario where bookmarks are kind of used, but I think I like it from that perspective because I've had this challenge using the Stephen Fee approach where there were elements which I felt I needed somewhere. I needed to put them somewhere, but I didn't want them to take the valuable real estate. I mean, you only have one screen. I mean, that's what you're aiming for, right?
Exactly.
So now you can use bookmark and just put that eye information icon on there. It's very understandable and it's very easy to use. To just tap it and boom, whatever ancillary information you need to show, you can do that. So I love that scenario. And yeah, a lot of other folks are saying that they didn't know the blank button. I didn't know either. So I'm like super jazzed. They say they learn.
I taught Avi something.
Yep,
All
yep.
right.
Hey, folks. So yeah. So who was I watching? And they had this beautiful quote: "Everyone you meet has something to teach you." And learn something new every day. So my job is done today.
Yeah.
I learned something new. I'm good. I'm gonna just go watch Netflix now. Gosh, what else? So really quickly, I do want to talk about the overuse or abuse of bookmarks. So I did. This was oddly at Microsoft, and I overheard somebody saying, "Oh, I try to stay away from DAX as much as possible." And then they said, "Well, now I have bookmarks. I can do anything that I want with bookmarks." And gosh, there are situations where you're gonna tie yourself in knots, in loops, whatever the expression is, if you don't use DAX. I mean, DAX in some cases, whenever you're working with measures and things like that, it just makes your life a heck of a lot easier. And then
Yeah.
sometimes I see people doing that with bookmarks. So you say, oh, I need to show this, and that one needs to have this filter, and this one needs to have that filter, and I'll just have bookmark and have them toggle through everything. I've used bookmarks. I've seen bookmarks being used instead of like disconnected slicers, a lot of stuff. So there are standard approaches in DAX and Power BI modeling in general, which are just make your life a lot easier. And I've seen the being twisted around and used for that. So just be a little careful. I think all the scenarios that I saw here are spot on. Spot on. Now, of course, the bar chart and pie chart is always going to be debatable, but that's one of those, Apple versus, kind of the PC debate. That's one of those.
Well, and in this case,
debates,
it was a matter of the customer requirement.
If
it's that easy to make them happy, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's
the one thing
great.
You have to watch when you're doing something like that, though, is I actually have the two buttons stacked right on top of one another. And if they don't align perfectly, you get a disconnect. Customer goes, wait, what did I see? When they start switching between things. So I align the buttons exactly, and I also align the two charts exactly.
That makes perfect
sense. So you'll notice the text, savings by category, lines up exactly.
Yeah, so now you're showing both of them, and you're showing... It just feels in place rather than, something moved. Yeah, that's true. So visually, sometimes even the smallest of like jarring effect can throw people off. So as a designer, so visual design I really feel is art plus science, and there's a little bit of love, and I try to create things. Love is the only word I can think of, right? I mean, I put some love and care in it. So so let's so now in the new release we have these red lines to line things up. But can you click on the pie chart or the button? And I just wanted to show one thing you may which I think others may find helpful as well. So if you go on the which pane is it? Visualization pane, and expand the general tab. Yeah, so here I've used this to exactly make something similar to the other one. Like
That's
I'll choose
actually
the
how I did it.
yeah. So I think you can also click like two elements, control click others, and then set their properties together. I think that's possible. Let's see if kind of
It didn't
gets happen.
work. Control click. Well, it's because I was dealing two buttons. Buttons
Yeah,
require
because yeah, you're
control
right.
click.
Control click activates it. So
So I'd
um,
probably have to do something more like
can you
that and that.
that worked, and then you can go to the general pane.
Nope, don't have it.
No. Oh, yeah. So this one is
Maybe because
tricky.
they're different types.
Exactly. Yep. If they're the same type, then it's happy. But yeah. So you can do it one by one. But in the general pane, if you don't want to think about it, if you don't want to align or something, you can just go to general pane and put the X and Y and the height and width the same, and it
Hmm.
works. But now it is a lot easier with those red guiding charts, which is a new feature in Power BI.
Yeah. But when I
Okay.
designed this, we didn't have those yet.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. Sometimes in it, like you see a new feature, I'm like, oh my god, where were you? Where were you?
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah, when I
folks,
spent 3 hours figuring out a way around you.
oh gosh, yeah. So folks, let us know if you have any other questions. Folks on the phone, feel free to kind of unmute yourself and just ask Heather. And while we wait for that, I did have one in my pocket, which I want to ask. So you did talk about your journey through deploying Power BI and the challenges and advantages in the small business. Now, hindsight, right? I mean, if you look back and if you were to do it again, what would your advice be to someone else who's starting out? And again, we talked about this dynamic where you can be a small business within a large organization, right? So, I mean, so whatever advice you have will apply to a big audience, not just small businesses. So, so yeah, but yeah, so what would you have any tips like, yep, watch out for this, gotcha, something like that?
Well, I think honestly, if I could have done it differently, I'd have gotten the accounting team behind me beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my case, they're the ones, obviously being accounting, they're going to kind
Yeah.
of hold the purse strings. But if I could have gotten the head of the accounting department excited about it from the start, I probably would now have pro licenses for all of our management team. And we wouldn't be worried about
Yeah.
the problem we're currently dealing with, which is, okay, now we've got this great solution for presenting budgets, but nobody else can see it.
Yeah, gosh, that's an interesting observation. Let's dive that in a little bit. Um, and
So what, really the first introduction from everybody in our company, except for myself, to Power BI was this dashboard in its infancy, which was probably only about 4 tabs at the time. We had a customer that wanted a solution, and quite honestly, we were concerned that if we couldn't provide it, we may not have the customer anymore.
yeah.
So we went, I figured it out. I spent a weekend really powering through and watching everything I possibly, rewatching a lot of your videos to make it work. And, it did the job.
Yeah.
But you show a finance guy this and he goes, yeah, lots of bells and whistles that I don't really need.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
If I had if I'd prepared something in Excel, not in PowerPoint or in the dashboard, but in Excel that he could look at and go, oh, wow, this does that more efficiently. It does it faster. And it's not got all the pretty pictures because for him, this is fluff.
Man,
so I think if I had shown him that it doesn't have to be fluff, it might have made sense.
I think that's huge. So in our business, they talk to us about objections. Like, so somebody, before they enroll in a course, they have some objections, and there's so much in there because objections are sometimes just beliefs, just a way of thinking. And if you can change the way of thinking, which isn't easy, but you can do that, then you get them to make the right decision, which, obviously you don't want, you do want them to make the right decision. So this thinking that the pretty pictures as fluff, I have encountered this as well. And I got the same reaction that you're talking about, where I was talking about something, and as soon as I brought up charts, the guy just rolled his eyes like, oh, just
Yeah.
stop, right? So, in my experience, when I work with kind of Excel folks, I totally agree with you, is that I try not to kind of rock their world and try not to like oversell or in fact even sell Power BI. My favorite approach to work with like a very Excel heavy crowd is to take a problem that they have, like take a challenge that they have, and usually it's easy to find, which is easy to solve in Power BI, right? So it's something which is
Yeah.
really hard to do. So like, oh yeah, this report takes blah to build, or we're trying to do this and we can't do it. It's just not possible. And the easy examples are too many rows of data, or some other complex thing like this, and you solve it using, I would say, Power BI, but when I say Power BI, there's also Power BI built into Excel, right? So you can use those elements, Power Pivot, Power Query, and
Right.
and then I show them kind of exactly as you said. I mean, I show them in Excel, and then I almost underplay Power BI. Actually, I do underplay Power BI to this crowd. So I'll say, hey, here's what you needed, here's what you asked for. Look at that, and they usually appreciate that. It solves a problem. But then I say, hey, by the way, since it's all kind of the same thing, really, it's Power BI inside of this. They also have this visual layer thing. And just check it out, and right. I mean, I just almost be dismissive about it, and have them play with it. And often when it's like non-threatening, when it's like, oh, now we're moving to this system, which I've heard big organizations do that. Believe me, like Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, which are like, oh, we're replacing Excel. I'm like, well, might as well jump off a cliff. I mean, you're gonna, and for one, you can never actually do that, right? So I just say, hey, just check it out. And then they usually come back really excited. And they're like, whoa, man, I checked it out and it was really cool. And can it do that? And then I'm still dismissive. I'm like, well, yeah, you really think it's a good idea? Okay, we'll try it, see how it works. Oh, hold on. And sometimes I'll just, hold on, just stay right there. And I just do it right in front of them. And so, whoa, that is really cool, right? So my goal is to make them think like it's their brilliant idea. Like, oh, I really feel should go with that tool. So I kind of got that, and I got that fluff reaction and so forth. Maybe the other approaches deal with that too. But looking back at my history, I never focused on. So what you said about get the accounting department, right? Somebody who controls the purse strings, the decision makers. I'll say that I have been very averse to that. And maybe it's time for like a little confession. So I felt like kind of the bottom of the food chain kind of thing, data analyst. I mean, they kind of pat you on the back, but I mean, you don't get any real respect, right? I mean, you're not, yeah. So you might rescue them in a big way once in a while, and they'll get really excited, but then they forget about us and they give you like 10 more reports. So it was always that. And what I saw from the big honchos, right, the decision makers and so forth, was seemingly a string of bad decisions. I mean, I would see somebody selling them a multi-million-dollar tool and them embarking on, now we shall use this and it'll solve everybody's problems. See that happen for a few years, and of course it didn't solve everybody's problems, and everybody was back to hitting that export to Excel or export to CSV button and just doing their thing anyway. And then somebody would realize, oh my God, this is Excel hell, right? And was, oh, this is not right. We can't operate like that. And then you repeat the cycle with a new tool or the new management or a new approach. And I was so disillusioned. I had lost like all faith in them. So I'm like, dude, I don't care about that. So the way I kind of did it was I helped the worker bee. So I helped the folks who were really struggling. So I started off, so I was getting a lot of resistance. So this was within Microsoft, and I was trying to push Power BI and not getting anywhere. It was crazy, right? Their own tool. Because people, it's not easy to change. So I found the smallest sales group, which was South America, and they were terribly understaffed. And I said, hey guys, do you need any help reporting? And I started there. And then kind of convinced others. And so I went from the worker bee, but man, it was touch and go. I came this close to, it felt like I'm going to have to quit the job, and I would have lost the battle, and the entrenched BI team would have won.
In our situation, the only other people who really use Excel very much, it's our purchasing team. Well,
yeah.
I've got him on board to a degree.
Yeah.
He's slowly learning it. And our accounting team. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody else, if they've got an Excel file, it's because I built it and sent it to them, or
Wow.
somebody like me built it and sent it to them.
Yeah.
So that's why they were kind of the worker bees I needed to get on board, because
Yeah.
my management team on this side, we're in the sales division, they're all excited about this. They love bells and whistles. They love seeing
That's
fly.
true. It's so odd,
They,
right?
show them a chart and they get all giddy.
Yeah.
Show them a line of numbers and they you kind of have to redirecting their attention.
Yeah.
So
got it. All right.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of know your audience. Problem is I had two different audiences, and one of them had the power to buy things and the other one doesn't.
That's true, actually. So Steve has a question, which I'll get to. Thanks, Steve. But last thought on that was, so I'm remembering now, of course, my mentor, Rob Colley, whom I co-wrote the book with, he talked about, man, this was like our first outing, and this was at a like a big company, Fortune 100 company in California, and he said you sell Power BI differently to different audience, and I don't think I did a great job of that either as an employee within Microsoft or even as a consultant, because I don't know, I mean, there is that angst. I have some anger issues which I need to solve, because I always kind of manage when I'm like, dude, I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk to the person who's feeling the pain. You don't feel the pain. But I don't think I need to let that go at some point of time. So what I heard Rob talk about was that he said you sell it differently to different audience. Management is easy, right? So Heather, how do you sell it to management? Bells and whistles,
for management, right? I showed them all the pictures.
Yep. They love that. Like, oh my God, oh, this chart, click here, click there. They love that stuff. And then there's that kind of the hardcore Excel guy, worker bee, and you just give them, it's like, hey, that's there. That's off to the side. You don't have to mess with it. You don't have to touch it. Here's a pivot table. And I love doing that. I mean, of course, a single source of truth. Kind of analyze in Excel. Just say, yep, here's a model. It's all ready. You wouldn't have to refresh. It's always going to be updated. It has all these measures built in, blah, blah. And you get your pivot table. And they're happy. Like, oh boy, yeah, I got my pivot table without doing all the heavy lifting. I mean, it used to take me 1 week to do this closed report. Now it's done, blah, 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 right? So it helps them. So you show them kind of Excel and all of that stuff, Power BI inside Excel. And the third group is IT, which right? So for IT, they love like SSAS Tabular and the Azure Analysis Server, because they love centralizing things, right? So the idea that everybody's building their own Power BI reports are like, that's anarchy for them. It scares the bejesus out of them. So you tell them, no, you can have the central model. And of course, at some point, you have to kind of convince them that it's a great idea to also enable and empower the end users to build their own reports. And the way I sell that to them is that it's going to make your life easier. Because right now, they come to you with 1,000 requests, and that maybe wouldn't be a bad thing, but anybody in IT knows that out of those 1,000 requests, like more than half are bogus. I mean, they wouldn't use it. I mean, how many times as a report builder, everybody knows that, man, if you build 10 reports, maybe 2 would get used. It's crazy. Like, man, I send this report every week. Does anybody read it? It's just nuts. And I mean, sometimes...
Well, see, that's more where I am with this. Because our IT department doesn't handle that.
Yeah.
We've got 2 people in IT.
Yeah.
They got their hands full keeping the machines running.
Yep. Yeah. So that's a good thing. I mean, that's makes,
so yeah.
makes your life
in this
simpler.
case, I'm kind of the IT person that's going, let's simplify this. Let's make this easier, because for me it does.
All right.
But
yeah. So all right. So Anthony Pihut had a question which Steve lined up for me. Thank you, Steve. So when clicking the Spink Set Options button, a page with lots of slices appear. After saving, do all active selections are highlighted in the box above? Oh, okay, got it. So you have this thing which lets you set the options, and then you save settings, and then there is a panel which tries to show what's been selected.
Yes. For instance, when I came into this, I only had Q4 selected for 2018. And if I add Q3 to that selection, and I hit save settings,
Yeah.
you'll see my selected quarters are now Q3 and Q4, and it
Yeah.
shows my selected months.
Got it. And you can hover over that and so forth. So I've worked on this fun DAX challenge where you try to detect if that range selected month is contiguous. And if it is contiguous, you can say July-December, but sometimes, I don't know, depending on the scenario, it may not be contiguous, and then how do you show it? But anyway, that's kind of separate. But yeah, so that, Anthony, hopefully that answers your question. So you're setting it there and reflecting it here. But what about the selected account? So that slicer, does it enforce a single selection? Wait, actually, yeah, show.
It was done here on the Welcome tab. It's
Got
only
it.
done in one place, and so that's that tab that they only see when they log in, and they never see it again.
Got it. But when you did set options, that seemed to have the select account again, or did it not?
No.
Okay.
What it had in set options was actually departments within the account.
Okay. And you're not showing those on the panel, right? Because that seems too many. Right?
No, I'm not. What it would show is multiple. If more than one was selected, it would simply say multiple departments. If only one is selected, it will show that one.
Love that. Love that approach. So that's great. Donald has a comment. Data flows can help centralize data. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Samuel has an excellent tip, and I'm a huge fan of that too. So cube formulas against a published Power BI model. Yeah. So pretty much the pivot table is magical in Excel. I love it. Nothing else like it. And cube formulas just take it to the next level, because now you can have this central thing which gives you a lot of flexibility in building reports. And of course, the way I want to work is have that all be connected to this single source of truth. All right, so man, I totally lost track of time. I didn't even realize we're past an hour. So Heather, I wanted to say a big thank you to you. I learned something new. This was a total bonus, and seeing your report. And yeah, thanks so much for your time. We'll and folks, we will make sure that we add the Heather's LinkedIn. Well, I didn't ask you. Would you be cool with that if you put your LinkedIn on there if people want to kind of connect with you?
I'm fine with it. I'm very bad at LinkedIn, but I'm fine with that.
Okay, let's do that. And yeah, so all right. So Heather, thank you so much. And folks, we'll stay on if you have any other questions. So Heather, you're more than happy to stay on, but I want to thank you for your time. And boy, I loved the presentation. Thank you so much.
Oh, glad I could help out.
All right.
Actually, it looks like I'm going off for just a moment.
Hi,
sir. How can I help you?
Well, here a few days ago.
Duty calls, my friends. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. And I do hope that the recording came out good, because there was a lot of good stuff in there which I wouldn't want to lose. And I learned something new today. So folks, let's go over. So of course, this is we do kind of Q&A as well. So let's go on the phone first. So it's open for anything. Obviously you can ask if you have a follow-up question, kind of for something that was shown, and I know I'll try to help as much as I can. For that, of course, the expert was Heather. Or if you have any other question about Power BI, go ahead. So the way we typically do it is I'll check with the folks on the phone. So we have I think you go by Anthony, right? So Antony Behut. Yeah. So we have Antony on the line, Melissa, Hans, Heather got called to duty, Kevin, and of course our friend Steve, moderator. So if you have any questions for me, just unmute and ask.
Avi?
Yeah. Hey, Steve.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So I have a question. I tried to submit in advance. I don't see it in the chat. I had a link to a file. I don't know what happened to it. I could post it again, I suppose.
Let's see. So did you put it in the GoToMeeting chat?
No, it was earlier this morning in the notice for the Talk
chat.
Power BI. So
Okay.
It's a fairly
Yeah, let me
simple
see.
scenario, but I am curious to know what your approach to the
Yeah.
problem would be. Do you see the file? Or I can.
No.
All right, this will just. I have the link ready to post. Hang on.
Oh, I see one link. Wait. Nope.
Hang on here. Oh, wait a minute. It involves.
Oh, so Antony, I see you sent a question as well, and yeah, we gotta clean up the.
So I just put
Slides.
the link to the file in the chat.
Got it. Okay, got it. Thanks, Antony. We'll get right to you. Let's download this bad boy.
Okay. Notice it's a Power BI file this time.
It's all good. Okay, so this is 2019. Isn't it that odd period where you're at the beginning of the year and you're still not used to typing the new year? All right, so that opened. So Ni Ajay, hey, if for now, yeah, the enrollment to our course is currently closed, but yeah, if there is a wait list that you can sign up for. So the enrollment to our main program is closed. What is open is, while that's coming up, is our six figures program, and there's been some confusion about this, and guys, the way I see it is that there is a YouTube, and there's content there, and then we have our course. So this is Learn Power BI, and this is a course plus community. And I really feel that the community aspect is bigger now than that. And then, so this one, the Learn Power BI, I focus on teaching the 20% core concepts that give you the 80% of the results. And then I had to kind of grow with my students, so we created this pro level. That's a membership for those who have gone through the course. And that's for the rest of the journey. So I learned the 20%, but how do we walk on the next journey? And I feel like I'm walking with my students in this journey. And it's one of those things that's it's never going to be done. And that's why it's a membership, so it's month by month. But then I had this realization actually a long time back, but I only found courage to act on it end of last year, which was that the tech skills don't necessarily equate to success. I saw that in my life. I saw that with the students, and because a lot of them were very technically skilled, but some were taking off while others weren't. So that was the idea of, the six figures Power BI professional. So, and this one, it does not have any Power BI. Well, it's in beta, so it doesn't have any content right now, but it's not going to have any Power BI training inside at all, because all of that is already covered here. This is going to focus on that X factor. You take two Power BI professionals, equally skilled, one takes off, becomes this mega superstar, the other one doesn't. What's the difference, right? So that's what we're going to capture. So if I'm going to put the link, so this one is open. right now, and we'll see how long we keep it open. Probably till the end of the month, and I'll also put the waitlist page if you're just interested in the course. Oops. There we go. So that one is for the course. All right, cool. I see, Lindsay, you got a great question. I'll get to it in just a second. And our file is open. All right, Steve, so let's try this. Why don't I give you control so you can walk me through this? Okay, see if you can. Oh, hold on.
So I'm actually
move this guy. Yep, go ahead.
It's not all that complicated, really.
Okay.
If you look at the sample data, you'll see that for each date, and then for each track code, there can be multiple, say, race values.
Yeah. So, hey, wait, I love this part. So Steve works at a company which runs racetracks. So it's horse racing we're talking about. So that's what the track code and race number is. All right, carry on, Steve.
That's right. You got it. So the other day I was working on something where I wanted to show how many racetracks that we showed each day. And that's easy enough with distinct count.
All right.
However, if you wanted to show the number of distinct racing programs that you showed in, let's say a month, the sum of the distinct counts, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
But you can see the total if you just use a distinct count.
Yeah.
It just shows you the overall distinct count. Like, there's 6 unique values in track code because there's no date slicer.
Got it. So let me kind of repeat it back to you. So distinct count, that's doing a distinct count on track code. Is that right?
Yes, for each day. That's correct. So you can see like on January 1.
Got it. So
you'll
let me
see
just draw
3
a bit.
different codes.
So January 1, it goes to January 1, and there's AQU, there's FG, and there's LRL. So it counts those 3, and then it goes to January 2nd, and it says, oh, I see AQU, I see GG, and that's it. So this track was kind of active. You use the word shown. Is that like a, I don't know, racetrack lingo? I mean, that seemed a little odd to me. So the track code was shown, like, I mean,
no, I displayed, I guess.
Oh, okay, got it.
No, I don't.
So this track code. Okay, so this track code had races going on this day. Is that what it's saying?
Yeah, when I said showed, that means we televised those races that day. We showed them.
Got it. Understood.
So those are.
I'm going to be a pro at everything related to horse racing pretty soon. You'll see me at the betting booth. All right, so got it. So I have a feeling that you solved it exactly the way I would solve it. So why don't you show us your solution, and I think we'll solve it the same way.
If you click on the sample data table. Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right.
Oh, it was a little bit off. Yeah, try that. 3 to 4, but the result is different. Ooh, you didn't. I mean, it's a DAX measure. I would have used that approach. Oh gosh, this seems exotic. So I don't.
Not that exotic. Once
summarize rarely. So let's look at this. So it is saying, I want to summarize. Oh, okay, got it. So basically, in DAX, you build this table first. That's what summarize does. So sample data by date.
You want me to explain it?
Count rows. Yeah. I didn't expect that. I thought there was going to be a count in the summarize.
No. So what summarize is doing, it's creating all of the unique values for the two columns that are displayed there. So
Yeah.
so you're getting for one of the values that it's going to count would be January 1 AQU.
Yeah. Yeah. Got
And
it.
that shows up,
Yeah.
even though AQU shows up again on January 2,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's a separate value that is going to count.
Got it. So let me just kind of hack this over here. So what summarize is building, and you can tell me if I got it right. Oh shoot, not that. So summarize is building this table. Am I right about this? Date and
Yes.
track code.
Yes.
So let's check that again. So it's saying, yeah, I just want to, well, actually, yeah. So I think something like that, and then you just count rows of that. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So wow. I mean, interesting. I mean, that's one thing that I love about Power BI. There are always a few ways to do things. So I'll tell you my approach. Whenever I see this, where I say that, I need to. Where the total is kind of wrong, and of course wrong is like by humans, it's not what we expect. It's always right by DAX. I don't think DAX is, well, there have been a few bugs once in a while, but otherwise DAX is always right, but it may not do what you expect it to do. So sometimes you're like, oh, this is not what I want. I want to add these up individually. Sometimes I would say it as I want to go day by day, and of course if I step back, I would say I want to go kind of row by row. And when I say row by row, does that bring to mind a class of functions which step row by row?
Sure. Yeah. Some X.
Yep. And generally the X functions, the iterators. And there are other iterators without the X word, which is wonky. There is there's filter, of course, and there is top N. I'm pretty sure that's an X function. That's an iterator function. So that's how I would think about it. And again, kind of no right or wrong. So let's just see how I would write it. I would just say, oh, I need to go date by date and add it up. So I'm going to go to modeling, and I'll say, well, it did say new measure. Okay, I'll say track code active daily sum. I don't know, something like that, right? So I'll just say X, and I really wish that you could write X functions by just saying X. And I'll tell you why. And Steve, you probably heard this inside the code, so this is for the benefit of the rest of the folks. But you can't. So sometimes I just write something, but I often don't think about this. I'm just thinking about the X first, because that's what happens first. So X is saying I'm an iterator, and then it says, hey, what do you want to iterate over? So I want to iterate over a set of dates. Do we have a calendar table here? Oh, we do. Oh, sweetness.
Of course.
Nice, yes. So cardinal rule number 1, if you have a date column, you should have a calendar table. And of course, there's the ultimate calendar table. Why would you choose anything else? Okay, just kidding. You can find that on my channel. Maybe I'll show that in a second. So SumX calendar, which the grain of calendar is date, so that's good. Imagine if I had to do this month by month, then I would say calendar month, but I can't quite do that because it's expecting a table and it tells you right there. So you can't pass a column. So instead of that, you would have to say values. So let's say, yep, and that would make it go month by month. But in this case, it's just date. So I can just say calendar. Calendar. So go row by row in the calendar, date by date, and then what do I calculate for each of those rows? So I say reuse this measure. So I've already defined that. So yeah, calculate row by row after that. And this is what I was talking about, that I wish you could start the X functions with X, because the sum happens in the end. So then it says, okay, well, you told me to iterate over this table. I did. And you told me to go to each row and calculate this. I did. Now what do you want me to do? And then I say, oh, I want you to sum it or average it or rank it or something else, right? So that's that part comes in the end. but unfortunately you can't write like that. But that's how I always keep it in my head. So sum x, so you say, yep, in the end, sum it all up. And I'm going to put that, I don't know what happened there. So let's see. I'm expecting it to have the same results. How do we? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so 3249. But you know, it's yeah. I mean, for a small data set, I don't think there would be any difference. For a large data set, it's a fun question. Like, which one would be faster? That would be like a really fun exercise. I mean, do this for like a, I don't know, like a 20 million row data set and see which one is faster. But of course, generally for performance stuff, I say if it's not broken, don't fix it. That's what my rule is. But for general purposes, each approach is giving the same results, giving the correct results as far as we expect, and folks can approach the way they like. I mean, I kind of love X functions. Summarize I use pretty rarely, but of course, it's got the same result. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like that. In fact, I like it better than the summarize approach. I was trying initially to just do it all with somehow with distinct count and the filter context. It just wasn't happening for me. So
yeah, I don't think it's possible because it's kind of doing the right way. I mean, this is how you expect distinct count to behave in most situations, but of course not all. And one example, there was a time when I think I showed distinct count showed this in one of the Talk PowerBI session, and I messed it up. I couldn't come up with a good example. What I did think of that later, which was imagine like the account ending balance, right? So January my ending balance was this, February was this, and blah blah blah, right? So the measure is calculating that. But if you just take that measure at the end of the year, it's going to give you the ending balance in December. But what if I want to calculate, hey, what was my average ending balance? Like, where was I at typically? That sort of stuff. Then you would use the same sum x approach. You will say sum x over months and the ending balance. Oh, yeah, sorry, you would average x, right? So average x. So go month by month, find the ending balance, and then give me the average of that. So, yeah, I mean, I for me, I kind of get that because it fits in my head and it adapts itself to a lot of different scenarios. Anything which you can generalize to saying, oh, I need to go row by row, I need to go date by date, I need to go month by month, I need to go customer by customer to calculate it correctly, then you kind of lean on that pattern. Cool. Great question.
Okay. Thank you, Avi.
Awesome. So, hey, Anatoly, I think I've said your name like 3 different times. So hold on just 1 second. What we're going to do is we're going to try to take a quick question from YouTube. So we toggle back and forth, folks. And hey, what we're going to do is we're going to have the YouTube folks call in as well. So hang on if you're on YouTube, if you want to chat with me, if you want to share your screen, do some other crazy stuff, ask me other questions, then kind of hang on there. So hold on. So Steve was distinct count row by row. Let's just do that. And so let me scan questions. So Lindsay had a question. Okay, SK Valley, the PowerBI workspace will expire. I think you're talking about a trial of a pro license. I think the default is 30 days. So yeah, if you're on a pro license, you can get a trial that expires in 30 days. And after that, I think it's what, $9.99 per month? $10. Let's go with that. $10 per month. Yeah, so hopefully that was about that. Let's take Lindsay Petty's question and see how we can help Lindsay. All right, so what is the time? We're doing 10:30. If I can type 10:30, Lindsay Petty. And oops. What is the best to Harfill? I think it chopped off, but audio value is missing for some days. Love that question. Awesome, beautiful question. So I love the questions which are simple but are gnarly. So let me bring up a sample file. My favorite company, AdventureWorks. I've invested all my retirement money into this, and we'll get going. So yeah, this is an interesting question. And Subaraj, you have one other one. So we'll circle back. We'll take Anatoly's question, and then we'll come back. Okay, come on. Okay, PowerBI desktop is loading. And maybe I can save this one. So how to fill missing values. Yeah, it's all right. So how do we fill missing values? The simplest approach is to do it in the visual. So let me see if I can do something like that. So let's say we have, I'm gonna hack this one, and you know what, I'll close this guy, and I'll get the smaller window up. Oops, didn't work. There we go. I can resize this guy. All right, so let's focus on this one. Let's see if I can spotlight it. And let's add daily. So we're looking at the whole company now, and we have data for all time. Let's change that year to 2016. Oops. Okay, so you get this. I mean, we got data for I think every day, you know. But what if we select a specific customer and we say that's a slicer. Actually, I'm going to bring in the bigger customers. So this slicer shows the top customers, or biggest customers at the top, not alphabetical. That work? Did something? Don't sync. Okay, so let's see what's the ordering pattern for Jordan Turner. So you notice here that is not showing every day. It's very jumpy, if you will, right? I mean, it says February 2nd, and that's it. And the next data point is May 5, and then July 16, and August 4. Now, of course, this one is really erratic, but imagine if they ordered like for 3 days, and right? So, you know, we don't want to see this. We want to see continuous. So if it was 0 for 1 day, we want to see it 0. So for that one, let's do two things. Let's do this as a graph and as a table. And in both cases, you can solve it in the visual. So let's change this to a table, and you can see that it's only showing the dates that they actually ordered. But what about the other days if you want to show those? So in a list, you can say go to date and say show items with no data. All right. So again, watch this graph, and I'm going to say show items with no data, and now I got like the whole thing. January 1, 2, 3, and then if they have an order, it shows, and of course it scrolls, right? So, yeah, so obviously this data is a little weird, but, in your case, I'm sure it would make sense. And in a graph over here, you can go here and change the axis. Oh, okay, fine. Maybe in the settings here. So the x-axis and the type, actually, continuous. Maybe it's the same thing. Hold on. So date. I wish I had not used date, because date is like its own thing. But what if we do show items with no data? Would that do it? Oh, it didn't. Yeah, that's what I was like. This would work for if you had categories and that sort of stuff. I think date requires one other thing. I think. Let's see if we can fix it. Categorical. Okay, there we go. So we changed the axis, and now you can see that there's a dot on February 2nd. If I scroll over, and line chart was maybe not a great example. Let's just try this one. It'll be easier to see. So you can say February 2nd. You see May 5. So basically, you can show the missing stuff. So that's one. The other approach is using DAX. And I wouldn't even show it because it's for very specific situations where you can say things like, if sales is blank, if there is no result, then return 0. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that approach because I think it's overkill. So yeah, now I do know that, man, Excel has this option of it says, what do you show in place of of like blank? Like you can tell Excel that for blank, I want you to show zeros, or I want you to show like a dash. I feel like it might be an option in Power BI as well. If anybody knows, just let me know. All right, cool. So let's switch back. Anatoly, thank you so much for being so patient. So you said, go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's see if we can chat. And you said you submitted a file. Hey, so is it Anatoly or do you go by Anthony?
Anthony is easier.
Okay, cool. That's what I remembered, but yeah, I don't want to. Of course, the story with my name is I go by Avi now, but my full name is Avichal, and it's so weird. Like I'm so used to Avi now that I went back to India. December I spent there, and of course my old friends and other people would call me Avichal, and it's so weird. But anyway, all right. So
Okay.
all right, cool. So you said you submitted a file, and we got to tighten that thing down. They're like a few different. You said you emailed it to me. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Do you have it, or I can share my screen?
We can do either. Let me first check. Hold on. Let me see. Let me check my email really quick. I think I got it. Example report.
Yes.
Okay, opening it right now, and it doesn't have any sensitive data and stuff.
No, all dummy data.
Okay, got it. And give me like a one-liner for your question. What is it about?
So maybe we can call it actualizing the budget.
All right. So Anthony, you're located in Toronto, right?
Yes.
All right, nice. Hey, folks, if anybody else is in Toronto, oh, actually, I do owe you one thing. I did say I'm going to find other students in Toronto. I know we have a few. But hey, if you're on YouTube or in the chat right now, Toronto close by, give them a shout out. Okay, so let's give you controls. Can I do that? How do I give keyboard and mouse? Okay, so why don't you drive and just walk me through?
So first I will enable editing.
All right. Yeah.
I hate this yellow bar from Microsoft. Okay, so I have dummy data, and just to distinguish between numbers, I have actuals with as 100 and budget as 90.
All right. Yep.
So I have two tables or two sources, and in the report, I want to see as actuals roll in, I want to see this. So we have this
perfect
challenge right now. Oh. So as I drag the actual over, now August becomes actual, and you can copy actual over budget again, and September will become just actual.
Update. Yep, got it. So with like one change, you can flip it to say that, hey, September is now complete. That month has been closed. We do have the actual numbers now available, so you don't have to use budget, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'll show. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the idea. So the idea is the line above, the actual and budget, can be a slicer or
Yeah.
something else, a toggle,
Yeah.
so that I can just choose. In this case, I may activate August, and then I want this table in Power BI.
Got it. Awesome. So let's see if man, that's some good stuff there. Hey, what was I gonna do? Hey, Anthony, are you in the pro level right now?
Yes.
You are. Awesome. That makes things so much easier. So we're just gonna go to the course enrollments, and we'll go mini course, and I'll bring up that file as well. So in here, there is one on financial reports and statements, and I want to build. There's obviously, I mean, this space is limitless. It's like, mini course. So
I didn't go to that place yet.
yeah, no, that's good. So the whole idea of pro level is, right, so the main course is 20% core concepts, and I generally want you to go through it step by step. I mean, you don't have to, and some people don't, and that's okay, right? But so that you do need all of that, right? So if somebody is like, oh, I already know DAX, they can skip that in the main course. But for the benefit of others, let me just quickly kind of show that. So our main course is this, and the idea is that it's self-paced and you consume it at your own pace and your own style. And it's so if somebody says, oh, I know DAX, and I just want to focus on query editor, they can, or they can say, I know query editor, I'm just going to focus on DAX. But you do need all of it. But then the Pro Plus is not like that. It's more of a pull. Like you would pull what you need, and yeah, you can, and right. So it's all, that's all good. So financial estimator, I would think you're gonna love this stuff, and let's just cover some of the key highlights here. And folks, if you're on YouTube, some of this content is also available on YouTube. So if you hang on, we'll share that as well. But yeah, since Anthony is in the program, I'll just I'll wait, many financial statements. You know what? I'm just gonna make it easy. Put in the chat window as well for you. All right. So let's see if I can pull up that file. Mini courses and finance dashboard downloads. Make sure it's okay. Let's see what it looks like. So there are two approaches to that flipping the month to the next month. One is that you just let them select in a slicer, and that's feasible. That's much easier now that we have the concept of sync slicers, right? Where you can have the slicer just on one tab, and so that they just click it once. Otherwise, the challenge was if you have multiple pages, then they had to click it, or you had to click on every one of them. And of course, you don't even need a slicer. You can also do it in the page filter, right? So because I mean, people generally, the report users wouldn't change it. So anyway, so that's one approach. The other approach is that it automatically switches over, but yeah, we'll save that. We'll talk about that. So let's see if the report is up first, and whether I can show you. Oh, we have that here. Yeah. All right. So D2 trends. Okay, so slightly different, but same idea. So what this graph is doing is it's showing you an gosh, like let me get rid of the budget line for now. Budget trend. So it shows you actual for the months that have passed, and then it starts showing you forecast. In your case, it's going to be like budget, right? So, and your company might do that too. I mean, we had budget at the year end, and then we would do like quarterly forecast. We'll revise it, and of course, you can do all combinations of that, right? So basically, so let's see, what is the actual forecast? So yeah, so again, in the lesson, you can see that how I kind of build it up. So this is what our data looks like. The actuals, and actuals I only have available for the months past. Now this was interesting because in our case, actuals were also available for future months, because some revenue would be booked for future months. But that didn't matter because we controlled in our calendar table the idea of what is the current month, which is the close month. So you control it using the calendar table, and then you build a measure like this, which says, like, hey, am I supposed to show the actual? If so, just show that. Or am I supposed to show the forecast? And it shows that. So yeah, it kind of combines those two. Does that seems like the end result you're going for here?
Yes.
Got it. And of course, the beauty of measures is
that a calculated table?
That one is just a measure. Yeah, I mean, I love measures. I generally stay away from calculated tables. Yeah, I think they're okay. Like overkill. Measures can solve most of your problems. All of your problems, they can get you coffee. No. Okay, right. So that's a measure. And so that's the approach that I would use. And again, the lessons have a little more details. Maybe let's dive in and let's look at the formula. And I actually don't remember what was this incorrect approach. Let's look at the correct approach. So the key question is, the starting point is, how do you determine the current month, right? So that is the main question, and I really think it needs to be driven by the calendar table, although I didn't use that in this video. Let me see if I did something better here. I actually didn't. Interesting. So let's maybe talk about that. So if you come back here, and here what I'm doing is I'm just saying if that future number isn't available, if is blank, if forecast is, oh, okay, got it. So it's so in I don't know, man. That video was maybe a little dated. So in your case, do you have future actuals available? I mean, that did happen in Microsoft, or is it like the future months are always going to be blank? What would you say? So right now we're in January. Would your company, the data source you're looking for, if you looked at the actuals, can it have numbers for February or not? Anatoly, wait, it seems you're in mute.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So they can. Wait, is that the
so
answer?
The idea?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the idea is that we have one version of the budget for 12 months.
Yep, got it.
Then actuals start rolling in.
Yeah.
Then based on that interim report, we build a quarterly forecast.
Yep. That's what I saw at Microsoft. Got it. Awesome. It's all kind of coming together. So I think the report that I have is close. So again, the question, like if you're in January right now, so at Microsoft, they would book revenue for future months. So if you're in January, but you go look at the data, and they would be like, $2 for February, or right. So small stuff. Obviously, January would be like really big, but we would have data for future months. Is that similar in your company, or no? When you pull the data, you're not going to see anything from February to December for 2019. What's the setup?
I will not see anything.
Okay, got it. So if that is given, then you can say that, hey, if the actual is blank, right, then show me budget.
Yes.
Otherwise, show me actual. So you can take that approach. right? But I do think that that's not like the right approach in the bigger picture. So, oh boy, yeah. Oh man, I feel embarrassed now that I used this approach. So let's talk about the other approach then, which you would do. Let's rewrite that measure. So I would use the
So
yeah.
sorry. Can there be something like current month? We can manually select from a 12 months slicer. We say this is the current month, and then based on selection on a slicer, it would
Yeah.
work.
You can, but that one has its own set of problems because if you apply a slicer, by default it filters everything on the page. Now, of course, you can go to where is it? Oh gosh, where is the edit interactions? And then you can say, I want this one to apply on this visual, but not on this visual. Now, when I worked with finance
Only on
reports,
the table.
yeah, but when I worked with finance reports, man, so let's say I use a slicer to tell the model that this is the current month, right? So, and that's good. You can do that, and you can say, yep, August is the closed month, right? Let's say that. So August is the month that we just closed. So I'm using a slicer to convey that information back to the model, and you can absolutely do that. And this part you can make this work, right? So that's fine, but that approach creates problems nearly for everything else because I may want to show this, but then I may want to show other stuff as well. I mean, look at my final report. This is pretty close to so so this does show the closed month, right? So this shows the closed month, and then it shows the quarter to date, and then it shows the year to date, and then it shows more detail, and then it shows kind of the trend and stuff. So you can do that, and that's the approach that this report is doing. But you can also feed it using the calendar table. So let's just maybe let's try this approach first. So if you select, if you select a month, I'm thinking which one is going to be kind of easier. Let's look at a calendar table. Let's go over there. So the calendar table has this concept of current month. So that's that one is on YouTube as well, and it has a few more lessons inside the pro level. So the ultimate calendar table, that's the one that I'm using. And in here, let's bring in the year, the month, and current month offset. Oh, don't count it, silly. Average. All right, so that one. Well, so what the calendar table does is that it has this idea of a current month, right? And you can also expand it to what is the current year or the current fiscal year, what is the current week, all of that, right? So you can build all of that in there, and I call this offset. So current month offset, current year offset, and all that sort of stuff. Let's add current year offset as well, and we'll just say maximum. Right, so in this model, the model thinks that, so I'm looking at the year right now. Oops. So it has year offset as 0 for 2017. Oh, I messed that up. 2017 is 0. So as far as the model is concerned, 2017 is a current year, right? So, and then it also has the concept of current month. So it thinks that September, we're in 2017 September right now. And then you can build things based off of that, right? So let's build off of that. So we'll keep this one off to the side. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. All right, cool. And then we're going to grab this, and let's just do it for a single year. So for this, I'm going to add a visual filter for 2017. So we have 2017, and what was that? Oh, great. Perfect. And we can get rid of the year. Oh. All right. So now we can say, let's just put the measures that we have. So we have actual. Let's add that on there. And we have budget. Let's see what that looks like. Got it, right? So I think this is pretty close to your scenario. Now, of course, in our case, we did have actuals in the future months as well. But that doesn't matter with the approach that we're going to use. So we're going to say a new measure.
Okay.
New measure. And we will say, we'll just call it actual / budget. I don't know. So we'll say actual / budget. And I'll say I want to detect what is my current month offset. Now, let's use variables for that. So variable, what is the current month offset right now? Which month am I trying to show? And I'll just say max of that. Current month offset. Great. And so I love the variable approach because you can kind of build things step by step. So I can just say, well, let me just test this part out, right? So I know it's not actual in budget, so we're not done yet. And sometimes people add the words like WIP in there just to remind them that this is a work in progress. This is not done. Although I'm not a huge fan of acronyms because you pass this model on to somebody else and he's like, who's WIP? Who's this WIP guy, right? So we got this. So it's returning this, which is not nothing extraordinary right now. And let me do this. Let me move this closer to over here so we can see this and the measure at the same time. Oops, didn't want that. Let's try this. All right, so returning current month offset, but that's working. So now I can do something else. So I can say if current month offset, if it is, so 0 is a current month, so that one is not closed. So I could say if it is less than 0, then it's a past month. And I know I'm showing a past month. And for all the past months, I have the actual available, and I'm going to show actual. If not, if I'm showing like the current month, which is active right now, hasn't been closed, then I'm going to show the budget and the forward looking. And let's see how that works. Oh, hard to see. Perfect. So let's see. So yeah, here I'm expecting actuals, and actuals does seem to match, and then it has this stuff which does match. What do you think about this approach?
It works. It works so far. I like it.
All right. And
so So my question was that I need to show a table, not a column, but probably if I built a matrix. And this calculated column will be in the...
Yeah. So let's try to... So I have this idea of three kinds of tables that I use. One is, I'll call it I call it like a working table. I actually call them pivots, but because I started off in like Excel and pivot tables, so I call it the working. I'm just gonna stick with that name. So a working pivot table, and then there's a reporting pivot, and there's also one which I I hope I don't have to use, but I sometimes do, which is the debugging pivot table. So often when I'm building a measure, I would do it in something like this list, and I will put all the stuff that I need to see, and I build it step by step. And that's the approach that has worked for me. Is like I take these complex problems and I break it down like really, really small, simple steps, and I build it step by step. And so this is my working pivot. This has very little to do with how it's going to be shown in the report, but that's what I use to build it. If things go wrong, then I use a debugging pivot that has its own characteristics. But now that I have a measure, I'm super powerful, and that's the awesomeness about Power BI, is that measures are defined once, used everywhere. So what we're gonna do is now try to build the report that you had. So let me go back and reference that. So you had some account over here. You had the actual and budget. So yeah, these labels would be these would be hard, but we'll see. But let's see if we can do months and something else on the bottom. So we'll get rid of
instead of accounts, there can be groups, departments, cost centers, whatever.
Yeah, and that's the awesome thing about measure that. Yeah, you can kind of slice and dice it any way you want. So let's see. So we have kind of the all of that, and let's add. I think I have department group, maybe department group name. Let's try that. Did that work? Nope. Didn't drag it right. All right. So it's similar. I think pretty close. And the best part is that you can go beyond that. I mean, you can throw anything at it, and as long as you built the model correctly, this would work. So imagine if you added. Actually, I'm not really sure about. So this table is slightly different than AdventureWorks. Let's see what kind of filters it has. It has department group, account, calendar and account. Let's try something from the account table. So you can bring in account and account level 1. Oops. Actually, that's good. That's good. So we'll delete this guy. So account level 1, make that a slicer, and then have account level 2. Account level 2.
I think.
And
I think
whatever
I have
you
controls,
built,
so you can take the controls from me.
I actually. Oh yeah. Okay. Got it. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you.
So once you build it, you forget it, right? I mean, you don't have to like think about it again. So that whole actual budget thing, I mean, you can like slice and dice using anything you want, I mean, the operating profit, right? So yeah, this is not as rich a table, but you get the idea that once you define it, then you can slice and dice it, trend it, project it, whatever you want. Oh gosh, I feel like there was another question you had.
So on top of this, I will be able to replace. So say we go later in the year and we have second quarter budget forecast.
Yeah.
And then say it's August, and we want to replace the remaining 4 months not with a budget but with a forecast.
Yeah.
And I'll have to replace budget with another source, with another column.
Yeah, so of course in your data you want to pull it all in. So the data has everything available, and that's what we have in this data set. I mean, we have our original budget, which we set out for the whole year, and in this case, so Microsoft. So this was this a quarter end? No, it isn't. But they would do forecast quarterly, and then they would obviously forecast only the remaining months, because the months that are complete, they're done, right? So so this is actually showing what's available in the data. So in the data, you would keep all of it. You would keep the actual, keep the budget, keep the forecast, but then measures are magical, right? So measure is where you can control how you want to show it. So you can say that at the beginning of the year, forecast isn't available, right? So you just have budget. So how would you do it? I think you would do something like this. So let's go back over here. So you would do something like this. And again, when I think about this, I just think about simply like, how would a human do it? Like, what is a human actually doing? And you have to break that down into steps, because we are very intuitive, so we jump to answers. But, if you want to teach that to Power BI, you would have to break your own thinking. So how would a human do it? And again, I'm going to go with a set of assumptions. So I think how a human would do it is, first they'll say, is forecast available? If it is, yes, then maybe I show forecast, right? If it's not available, actually, no. We'll start with, is this month in the past? And you would say yes. Well, then that's clear. We always show the actual for completed months. If it's no, then you say, is forecast available? Because forecast is more current than budget. So if the forecast is available, we want to show that. So is forecast available? Then show forecast. If no, then show budget, right? And of course that's like a simple if then else measure. So let's see if we can actually kind of write it in this one over here. This one. Let's go to this guy. So here we already have actual budget, and I can declare it not work in progress. I think we completed it, and I'm going to copy that. And how do you make this thing smaller? There we go. And let's write one more, which is so we'll write actual budget forecast. So we'll say, is it a past month? If it is a past month, then always show actual. Otherwise, you're gonna check if is forecast available. So not is blank forecast. Yeah, I'm not 100% comfortable with this not is blank. Yeah, maybe there could be another approach here, but let's just go with this for now. If it is not blank, if it is available, then just show the forecast, else show budget.
Sorry, Avi.
Yeah.
Can we have an interim measure that says, for instance, comparative, call it comparative or benchmark, and then inside that measure I will say either it's budget, my comparison, or forecast?
Like a situation. You could. So let's keep this one. You could do that, and so let's see how we would take that approach. And yeah, so this one we had kind of like this. Oops. Okay, so this is one. And let's say you define like I don't know, like scenario shown, right? And that has some logic in there to determine actual, budget, or forecast. And frankly, that logic would probably look something like this. We'll say, are we in the past month? Then I'm showing actual. And yeah, so I'm not really sure if it's much different, but I from what I heard, what you were saying was, then the measure would be something like this. I don't know, maybe let's just generalize it like amount, right? And this is going to be a switch statement. So we'll say switch, and switch is like a if then else, but a cleaner if then else. So you would say I want to test this, and if this says actual, then show actual. If this one tells me budget, then I show budget. If that one says I'm supposed to show forecast, then I show forecast. And by the way, of course, this approach is, I mean, if you go look way beyond actual budget and forecast, this is a very flexible approach of determining in one step, like, okay, I'm just going to figure out using whatever logic what to show. And then you just say, okay, if I figured out this, then show this, then show this. This you can use for building P&L reports, for showing subtotals, all sorts of crazy stuff. But yeah, so I mean, you could break it up into two pieces if you like, and I don't know, that may help. If it helps you kind of keep it clean in your mind, go for that.
And in the first measure, I will say merge actual with scenario shown.
In this measure? Are you talking about
if you go back to Power BI, the measure that you build first, actual / budget.
Yeah. You can just say
instead of budget, we'll say scenario shown.
Well, you would just do like a switch or an if statement, and you say if the scenario says I show actual, then I show actual, else show budget. Yeah. So there is.
So I would keep this measure, but I would just replace budget with the new measure that you just showed.
I see.
So that actual is combined with a new measure.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. Let me see if I had anything else. So definitely go through the financial report course. But I feel like
thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it feels like that there's a little bit of addition needed in the course, because I'm not, from what I can see from the file, I'm not really using the current month offset. It's possible that I used it in like a separate example or something, so maybe I covered it. I'll go back to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file. Oops, didn't want to do that. I'm going to save this file. All of the Talk Power BI files go in a central location, and I'll give you the link right now in the GoToMeeting chat window.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so folks who are watching, there is a version of this available on my channel. Financial dashboard. Oh shoot, I think I moved things around. It's what about Avi Singh financial dashboard? So that one I had done for Microsoft channel. So yeah, and I thought I had added it on mine. Maybe I think we should. It was there and we took it off. So yeah, so that one. So that one covers a subset of what we have in our pro course. But Anthony, yeah, you can just access here and just go through the lessons, and yeah, I'm sure that'll be. Hope that's helpful. Oops, not this. All right. So yeah, I was gonna save this file because we did some new work here. So folks, I think it's time. If you've been hanging on YouTube, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support there, and we're gonna open up the call lines in just a second. Stock Power BI 2019, and we'll say 2019 0118 Anthony, and this one actual budget forecast. And so Anthony, I'm gonna put the link for you in the chat window, but for everybody else, all of my discussion notes, this stuff, and the file, any file that we create, you can get that by just going to talkpowerbi.com, and you can get that. But let's see, oops, so that one is going to lead you to our download page, which is a long link. Where is that? I'm just going to give you the file link. All right, Anthony, so you should have that link. Awesome, my friends. So let's do this. Let's open the phone lines. And I know one of you had like a different question. I'm going to run through that. So my request is that this is for the Talk Power BI members. So if you have joined on talkpowerbi.com, then HTTP. Then you can call in. But I'm gonna put the link right here because that makes it easier. So join the Talk Power BI. We call it the Insiders Club, and of course I've gotten to know a lot of you. You know, Sam is always here. Kirill is on. Awesome. That's great. Oh yeah. So Kirill is saying, why are the totals the same for budget and actual budget? Oh gosh, we didn't even get to talk about that. So I think that is covered in the model and the course. The actual budget. How did I solve it? Boy, I was ready to move on, but let's just tackle this guy really quick. That's not. That's 932. Yeah, that's not good at all. Come on. I can't make it work. Okay, there we go. So let's see how it is in. Actually, I'm going to leave that for another day. I mean, I see that is a problem. Where did our thing go? Actual budget. And the totals need to be fixed. And you would fix that using the same approach we discussed with Steve at the beginning of the call. Isn't that funny how that works? Yeah, so this is a scenario where, you know, again, Steve had the exact same scenario where the total was kind of wrong by human standards, and DAX is always right, and we just wanted to go row by row. So yeah, so we'll do that. That's the next step. Good point, Kirill. I'm glad you pointed that out. So this one is not quite done. All right, let's see. So we're going to the phone lines, and is it this one? Nope. Talk. All right. Hey, gosh. So folks on the phone, I'm gonna turn off screen sharing because I have like 3 different broadcasting systems going now. There's Zoom, GoToMeeting, and that. So to conserve bandwidth, I'm gonna stop screen sharing here. You can follow the video on YouTube if you can. All right. So I think I got the line going. We'll only know if somebody joins. So let's go here, and boom, the link is on. And again, I request that you join the Insiders Club, Talk Power BI. Gosh, yeah. So I've loved kind of getting to know some of you, and seeing you hang out on the channel. Appreciate the support. So if you have a question where you would want to just talk to me and maybe share your screen, show me what's going on, and have a deeper discussion, let's just join that line. And I'll wait for that. Let me see, what are the recent comments? So Prashant Banwari is saying repost. All right. Okay, so I better see this one. Hi, I'll be having trouble with the report for a delivery department. For each day, I want to count the orders that are still in delivery for each day. So Prashant, let's see if you can call in. And until that time, I'm going to make up some data and you can guide me. All right, so I'm going to say, yeah, if you have sample, yeah. So hey, can you join using the link that I shared? It's that zoom.us link. Yeah, I didn't say what that link was for. So that link is for dialing in. So we can talk. It goes a lot faster. All right, I'll wait for you. Mail, you can mail it. Sure. Thanks, Anthony. Awesome, man. Yeah, great question. And Kirill, thanks for prompting. That was a good catch. All right, so Prashant is joining in. Let me just kind of think out loud, right? So, and again, I like doing that. Sometimes I end up embarrassing myself. It's happened. Happens more than I would like, but that's good. I've learned to kind of enjoy that because you see that there's no perfection, and frankly, that's why I launched the Six Figures program, because I realized that people often think that, oh, I got to climb to the top of this mountain, so I got to become this Power BI expert, whatever in the world that means. It's all relative, right? I mean, put me in the wrong room, I'll be a rank newbie. I'll be a rank noob, So yeah, so you feel like you gotta be up here somewhere, and you don't. So that's the idea behind the program we're running right now. But so I think out loud. So I'm gonna say that there's a delivery department for each day. I want to count the order that are still in delivery. So when we're building a model, you first build it on paper. So what is a business process? It's something about a delivery. So there's an order. So there's an order number, right? Let's just say 1, 2, 3, right? And then it is maybe there's an order date, right? So this is January 1, 2019, January 5, 2019, January 10, 2019, right? And then there is a delivery date. And so we'll say this one was delivered on January 3rd, 2019, January 10, 2019, and this one hasn't been delivered yet, right? So I feel what Prashant is asking about is that, can we show like day by day how many orders were in delivery, right? So if I want to say 1/1/2019, and again, so right now you see what I'm doing, I'm just making an assumption. And modeling, that's what modeling is about. It's about assumptions and decision. Simple. Right, so so you make a set of assumptions. So so obviously I'm hoping that Prashant is able to join the call and kind of guide me. But inevitably, if you step into a consultant role, what's going to happen is you're going to have some kind of online time with the client. So I would typically meet with them once a week, something like that, for an hour, and that's great. They can answer all your questions. But then you go off and you're working offline, and you don't have them. I mean, maybe you can like ping them, message them, but there's a limit to that, right? So inevitably you're going to have to operate on a set of assumptions. So that's the way the game is played. So I was having a conversation. Well, I wouldn't name the person, but students in the course, and they talked about that. Oh man, my models keep breaking. And then I talked about my experience, and I said, well, I mean, you build a model on assumptions, and often my model would break when the assumptions would change. And it's so I don't see that as negative. Of course, over time you get smarter, and you start doing what I call defensive programming, where you account for these assumptions. It looks like we have our first caller, but I see the name Samurai. Is it Prashant? Hey, who's on the call? Oh, don't actually. It doesn't seem you have audio yet. All right, cool. So, Prashant, if you're able to join, just ping me. But I'm gonna go with the assumption that website launching. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you. All right, we'll wait for that.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. Who do I have on the call?
Prashant.
Oh, awesome. What's the samurai thing? What's that?
Oh, yeah, that's a long story.
Okay, all right.
You know the Wu-Tang Clan name generator?
Uh-huh. Okay.
I used that when I was like a kid still at school.
All right. That's great. So Prashant, have you spoken before?
No, we haven't, but you helped me once before, like a few months ago.
Okay.
But I watch every week.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. So tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I work at a large company in the Netherlands, like a tech company.
All right.
And we have a department that basically delivers VoIP solutions to our customers. And
right.
basically I'm the analyst for that department.
That's great. That's great. Awesome.
Summary.
That's amazing. And I love the origin story. So how did you first stumble into Power BI?
Well, it's quite funny in that regard. I was basically just somebody on the floor, just delivering the orders.
Uh-huh.
And basically the business needed an analyst. And they saw that I did some cool things in Excel. So I said, yeah, well, if you need somebody, I can do some things for you guys.
Wow.
And basically, we were looking for a tool. I stumbled on Power BI, never done anything like that before. And that has been my business now for 1 year.
Yeah.
So I'm not very excellent at it, but I think I've done well in a year time.
Wow. So wait, did you say business, or are you like freelancing? Are you running a consulting services, or?
No, I'm just an employee. Yeah.
Got it. But you kind of progressed there. You've made an impact there. So Prashant, man, I'm so glad we're talking to you. So of course, so what I want to ask you is that a lot of times people are starting out and they have this fear. They say, I'm not good enough. I don't know these things, right? I haven't done these things before, and yeah, they're not sure. It seems like, oh, that's not for me, that kind of stuff. But you came from a different background, right? I mean, and what would you say to that person who's kind of afraid? I mean, were you afraid when you were just stepping into this role when they asked you to do it? Tell me about that.
Yeah, most definitely. I was afraid, you could say, because it's a quite large company. It's not a small company.
All right.
And the thing is, we have a analytics department, and I've done nothing but do things in Excel, very simple, basic things.
Yeah.
And I was quite hesitant to see if I could get to that level. And basically, Power BI helped me a lot because it's very easy to use.
Oh man, I'm so happy right now. So I wanna ask you. I wanna go a little bit deeper in that. So, in your case, you were given an opportunity. I mean, they saw some stuff you were doing, and I mean, maybe from your point of view, you said it was simple stuff, but it was something, right? You were doing something which clearly stood out, and that's great, right? But they kind of came to you. But when I'm talking with a lot of people, I feel like sometimes you got to reach for the opportunity. And so I see them, they're in that spot. Imagine kind of where you were, but for them, the opportunity isn't coming to them. But I think that's a problem easily solved. You can easily reach for it, right? I mean, you can start doing something and start reach out, but the fear stops them. The fear stops them. So the opportunity came to you, you were hesitant, but then you did it, and you've done well in the past year. That's awesome. Do you have any recipe to kind of anything to share with them to counter that fear? It's like, hey guys, don't be afraid, right? I mean, do you have something? I don't know. What do you have any tips on that?
Well, Well, regarding yeah, you have to have that self belief, and I believe I could manage this. Of course, I put in the hours, like late in the evenings, even going up to the mornings.
Wow.
Basically, learning everything I can about Power BI.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, self belief is that I think is the main thing. Believe in yourself and never give up and always learn every day.
That's really cool. Awesome, man. You had me to self-belief. So I'm thinking about the quote. I think it was of Winston Churchill, which said, "Whether you think you can or you can't, you are right." And yeah, so sometimes it comes down to that. So love it. Gosh, yeah. So let's see. So did I understand your scenario correctly? So that you have an order number. Order date, delivery date, and you want to share?
I have a sample that I could send to you, but I'm searching for a email or something.
Yeah, Avi@avising.com. Would it be easier if you show me? Let's try that. So why don't you share your screen and walk me through? And frankly, I feel like I can move that thing to. I can use AdventureWorks dataset for that. So, do you see like a green share button on the side?
I'm looking for the application.
All right. Hey, while you're waiting, hey, Melissa, Heather. Hey, I'm gonna drop off of GoToMeeting. So if you're still on, I'll just dropped off since I turned off the screen sharing. So drop off. I'll still be on YouTube. So but I'll just end kind of the GoToMeeting session. Thanks so much for joining, Heather. Special thanks to you. All right, the green button, kind of working.
Okay. Let me check if I can see the interface here. I don't see it actually. Oh, here. No, this says sign in. How's this working?
It looks. Oops. So it looks like this for me. I'll put it up on YouTube, and you may not see exactly the same screen, but yeah, see if you have something like this guy. Well, okay, just send it to me at avi@avising.com.
Is it share or?
Share. Yep, yeah.
Okay.
Getting close.
Almost there.
Yay, something just coming up. Got it.
Oh, already got
so
it.
I see sample PBIX. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Just a second.
Man, I'm gonna check to make sure I don't have any meetings. All right, I'm good. All right, you like the outdoors, I suppose. Is it? Is it your picture, or is it one of those random things that I don't know Bing puts up or something?
No, this is a standard.
Okay.
Yeah. I need to update my Power BI. I see. Damn it.
Okay, let's say later. Well, if it's easier, yeah, you can try sending it to me, just avi@avising.com. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I already sent it.
Oh, okay. All right, let me check then.
I hope I didn't make a spelling.
Yeah, I don't see it. Not in the Avi Singh mailbox.
Okay, I'm downloading the new.
Oh, it wouldn't let you say I want to do it later? Okay, no worries.
No, it didn't. No.
Okay, so, well, how about we do this? So tell me if what you're looking for is something like this. So you have order number, order date, delivery date. But what you want to show is on January 1, how many orders had delivery outstanding.
Yeah.
Does that sound like
what
you want to do?
but also additional is if the order has already been delivered.
Yeah.
Basically day X -1, so I will still count it the day before it has been delivered.
So I'll just walk through this example, and you can give me like an example which would fit your scenario. So again, human learning comes before machine learning. So right, I'm teaching the human, me, how to do this, and then we'll teach the machine. So if a human were to do it, January 1, how many orders were outstanding? Well, for now, a small data set, so I can just visually scan. There was this one. So I'll just write down over here, the order number 1 was outstanding, and that's it, right? So I'll just say 1. And hold on. So I'll just keep a note here. And order numbers. All right, so in January 2, there was only 1 outstanding. January 3rd, there was 0
managed to open
outstanding. Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, cool. So I see.
What I did was actually make a
start date, end date. Got it.
Yeah.
And the teller is all 1, so I'm gonna ignore that. And then so start date. Oh, well, what is this table? It's not what I expected. Like, so if some order delivery, I would have expected like.
Basically, I just made a sample just 10 minutes ago.
So does each row represent an order? Is that what it is?
Yeah, correct. So each row is an order, and basically, what I'm trying to do, if I just remove these. So this is like an order. Start. This is the end date.
Got it.
This is start date. So this one is still active. In
got
delivery.
Got it.
And I'm looking actually for this visual in like a DAX measure or something. Because if I would just do by end date or by start date, I wouldn't get the week, because this is current. This is like today. This is the current week, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, of course, January 13th. So this would be like in week 2, because this is 13 minus 1.
Got it. Hey, I feel like if we can simplify it, do it based on a day, we can also do it based on a week.
Yeah, basically we do our reporting by day and also by week, of course.
So let's go with this then. So I'll come back here. So help me walk through that. So you're saying by day or by week, I want to figure out how many orders were outstanding, right? We're pending delivery.
Yeah.
I have it correct? Got it.
Yeah.
So let's actually kind of step through this. So I'm going to make this a table just so it stands out a bit. So that's our table. So I'll say January 3rd, there was 0 orders outstanding because that was delivered. January 4th, there was 0 orders. January 5th, there was 1 order outstanding. And maybe I'll do a little bit of an overlap here. 8 and then I'll say January 6th, 1 order. January 7th, 1 order. January 8th, 1 order. January 8th is actually 2 orders. So this is going to be order number 1 and 0, 0. And this is 2, 2, 2. And this is 2 and 3. Maybe I should have done like ABC. Let's just try that. That would just work better for me, BB, and this is BC, and then January 9th, there were 2, and January end, there were 2. Oh, no, actually there was 1 only. So this was C. Is that the right kind of human approach? Right? And we'll see how we can teach Power BI that. Is that how I would build it up for a day? Did I do it the right way? So if I showed you as a human that, hey, this is my order data, can you tell me by each day how many orders were outstanding? I just want to make sure that's what you're looking for at a day level.
So I want to show them the business, the outstanding orders they had that day or that week.
Got it.
But if the order has been delivered like yesterday it was still outstanding.
Well, so if the delivery date is 1/3, on 1/2 it is outstanding, right? That's how we're doing. So right, I mean, as a human, are we doing it right? So imagine today is January 3rd, and it was delivered on January 3rd. So for January 3rd, we'll say nothing due.
I would count the first and the second.
Yeah, got it, right? And of course, like 5th, this guy B is being counted all the way from like 5th to 9th. On 10th, it was delivered to correct. Right.
Yeah,
got it. So we got that, and of course, we'll come back and kind of solve for the week stuff. So let's do this in Power BI. Delivery date, and I know, oh, actually I should have opened the ultimate calendar table. I know I'm going to need that. I'll just do that. All right, let's save this file. And yep, we'll go 2019-0118. And this one is. So you do spell your name with a D, right? Ending in a D?
Okay. Quite unique.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good though. When I loved my name growing up, Avichal, I mean, it was pretty unique in India. There was a point when I thought that I was the only Avichal in the world. Now, of course, that bubble was burst when I first discovered, well, it wasn't Google, Alta Vista, I guess. And I was like, oh, no, there's out there.
Yeah.
So,
I work with a lot of people from Accenture. So every time I say my name, they always spell it wrong. So no, it's with a D, and they're like really looking funny at me like a D.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? So it's funny. So I got 2 kids, my son Parth and our daughter Rhythm. So I named my son, and I went for a very Indian traditional name, Parth, and that came with a little bit of trouble because it's hard for them to get it here. My wife, thankfully, picked the second name, and I think the first time she said the name Rhythm, I was like, perfect, done, that's it, we're doing it. So we were set, but when when Parth introduces himself, people often like ask him like, oh, like what is it? What's his name? When Rhythm introduces herself, people often ask her to spell it because they're expecting like it's an Indian name, so they think it's a trick, they think it's like it's an Indian word that sounds like rhythm, and and she's like, she obviously rolls her eyes and like, well, RHYDHM, the same way you do spell rhythm. So yeah, that's kind of funny. All right, cool. Let's come over here. I'm gonna get over here, enter some data. I have my ultimate calendar table lined up, and we're gonna say this. That work? All right, perfect. That looked good, and we'll say orders, edit, and I'm gonna put the calendar table in there. So I got that calendar, copy, paste. Oh, folks, I did mention the calendar table. Super easy to find. Just go on my channel. And the good stuff is inside the course. No, just kidding. Well, the course does have some good stuff, but the good stuff on my channel is all at the top on this playlist. So the ultimate calendar is right there. All right. So if you have a date column, you gotta have a calendar table. It's simple. So order calendar looks good, and I'm gonna change the start date. We don't need and let's see how it looks. Man, I'm excited because right now I don't know exactly how I'm going to solve it. Cool. So let's look at a relationship view, and I usually don't like auto detect. I like creating my own relationships. So this is the data table. So Prashant, obviously I'm speaking a little bit to the audience. So I'm kind of speaking out loud, thinking out loud.
Yep.
So data table, I always make it taller to remind me that data tables are supposed to be lanky, which is they are skinny and tall, right? So that's the data table, and the lookup tables are squat, so short and wide. So here, and what I'm going to do here is just connect both of these, order date and delivery date. And again, the auto detector did this bidirectional, which is silly. I don't want that. This should be your default. Oops. Orders to calendar, many to one, many orders, one date. Okay, and of course I can only have one active relationship between these two. Now let me see if I can show this in the AdventureWorks. AdventureWorks is right here. Let's go over here. So if you look at this table, what do I have? Oh, this is the finance table. Oops, my bad. Let's see if I have the AdventureWorks open. We do. So this one has the same thing, order date, ship date. And I could have used the data, but a simple data set is going to make it easier for us to debug. And in this case, I have the order date connected to the calendar table and ship date connected via our dotted relationship. So, but that has very little to do with what I don't know, did I call me Anthony? Prashant is asking about. Okay. So, but I still wanted to talk about that before I step into the solution. So you have order date and ship date, and the general way you handle that is only one of them can be connected at a time. What does that mean? That means imagine if I have order count, right? So order count, which is this one, and I wanted to show that by my date table. So I'm gonna say month, year. Let's try that. And we'll make it a table. Order count. And then I have order count. Ooh, I already have it. I'm glad. Order count by ship date. Oh, awesome. So the default measure is just counting the order numbers. That's it, right? So that gives me order count. But what is that? Well, since my active relationship is by order date, right? It's connected with order date. What that is, it is showing me order count by the order date. So this 146 is showing me the number of orders with order date in January 2014. But what about the ship date? Well, since that's a dotted line, you need to use it differently, and you need to activate it using use relationship. But once you do that, now this special measure is showing me the order count where ship date is January 14th. So that's one approach of handling this, and the other approach is actually, I forget the name, but basically you copy the table. So there is calendar, ship calendar. All right, so I wouldn't go too much into that. Of course, it's inside my course for those who are enrolled. Let's solve Prashant's problem. So that's the typical way you would handle order date and like ship date or delivery date, right? But that's not what we're looking for right now. We want something else. And frankly, for this one, I think I'm gonna turn this relationship off for now. And let's come back over here. Page background. Let's come back over here. Where do I hide myself? Maybe over here. Okay, so let's do some simple measures. And folks, if you've gone through my Power BI tutorial, you know that I like explicit measures, not implicit ones. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go through my tutorial. All right, so I'm going to do order count. Order count equals, and in this case, I can just count rows. There's so many count functions. I think all my life I've only used two: count rows and distinct count. There are uses for other ones, but if you know these two, you're good. Count rows, and I'll say orders. So that's my order count. Great. Let's put that on there in big bold letters. So that's my order count. All right, so that's that one. And now let's put our calendar table on there. Let's do date, list, and I don't want the hierarchy. And let's just change this to, actually, let's leave it at that. So Prashant, no guarantees, hey? It's possible I'll hit a roadblock. So if I can't solve it, I'll probably solve it offline. It has happened to me in the past, but of course, what that means is as soon as I get off the call, I dive in, and it's like an itch. You got to scratch it. So
so I have the same problem.
Yeah. So I'm also gonna keep my data table kind of on the side, so I can kind of see what's going on. So I'll put the order date, order number, order date, delivery date over there. And let's make it just a little bit bigger. All right, so got it. So I know what the right answer for January 1 is. January 1 is just one order. So I know that, and I'm just going to focus on that one cell. So if I wanted to calculate the January 1, what would I do? I'll say new measure, and we'll see how far we get. I'll say pending orders. And I still want to get the order count. Is that right? I think so. But I need to check. Let me think. Oh boy, I know there's an X function here, but which one? Some X, count rows filter. Can go a few ways. Let's just do count rows, and we'll say filter, which is an X function. So we're going row by row, and I'll say filter by order. So go row by row, and then what do I evaluate? Ooh, I need something else first. Filter expression 1. Let's just park this guy. I'll come back to it. So I'll say var selected date equals max a date. This guy. So I want to do that. And var WIP, that I got from Matt, work in progress. And for now, ignore the WIP. We'll just return selected. Return. Return. That should have worked. Var WIP counter. Oh, I'm missing a bracket here. Return selected date. All right. So actually, I'm just gonna remove this for confusion. And I just want to see that, can I get that in a measure? I mean, that should be really simple. All right, so I got that. So it's returning that date. Great. Let's carry on. So now I'm going to say I have the date, and what about pending orders? Can I calculate it? So I'll say count rows, go to the orders, and what I want to test there is that the order date. So if I'm looking at January 1, the order date was on or before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the order date was January 2nd, I don't care about you. So was is less than that. It should be less than equal to. I'll come back. Less than, I think less than equal to. And the delivery date is greater than no, delivery date, we'll have to count for blanks as well. So if the order date was in January 1 and the delivery date was January 1 as well, we wouldn't count it, right? Selected date.
No, you count it. Because it's a pending order, so I want to show them the pending orders.
Okay.
Up to the date it has been.
Yeah.
Delivered.
So the key is like order A. Do we count order A on January 3rd? Like was delivered on 3rd, so I don't know.
That would be.
Was it pending on 3rd or not?
That would be order date minus 1. So no, you don't count it.
Well, but with that logic, if it was 1/8/1/9/2019, 1/9/2019, with that logic, you shouldn't count D as pending on January 9th, right?
Correct.
And
the 9th it was still pending, so on the 10th you don't count it, and like A you don't count it on the 3rd.
Ah, okay. I'm gonna ignore that logic for now, and we'll come back and see if we can add it. Let's see if I got this right. Gosh, the way I'm thinking it is that this date, there's order date and delivery date, and if the selected date is in the middle, that's it. That's what I'm looking for. So it's greater than selected date is greater than order date, but selected date. I'll just reword it just so I can keep it in my head straight.
Maybe something like dates between.
Well, dates between. Yeah, that's gonna. Ooh, so yeah, that's gonna be a really cool solution. So I think if you do dates between, then you would have to do an intersection of that with like the selected period. Man, that actually could be interesting. All right, so let's see how this worked though. Not what I expected. Why? Dang it. Pending orders. A, B, C. Wow, I really expected this to work. What is not working? So January 1 is kind of right. January 1 is right, 2 is right, 3 is 0. So that's kind of right. 4 is right, 5 is back to 1. Which is good.
Because it's not looking at the order, right? It's not looking at A or B or C. It's just counting everything, I think.
Well, it's just giving 1. So January 8th isn't right. It should be 2. So let's go back over there. So for January 8th, it goes order by order. Oh, of course we didn't account for blank. So we'll come back here. So that's my theory, and of course, so usually, sometimes when I'm writing a complex measure, I usually do filter down to a small data set. It's just so I can keep it in my head. So I want to test that theory really quick. So I'm just going to actually mess with this data orders. So if I were to go in here and say something like January 13th. Then I think our measure as is would work, but yeah, it did, right? So it did 2. So it was only the null, but I can account for that. So order date, I'm assuming cannot be null, but delivery date can be null. So we'll say selected less than delivery date, or is blank delivery date. Did that work? No, too many brackets, I think. So we added that. Let me think about this. Ooh, still not happy with my something in the measure. Select count rows. Okay. Oh, I'm not really sure what it's complaining about. Count rows. Oh, there's one more. Wow, I should really put this through the DAX formatter. Maybe we would. All right, and now I'm gonna go back and change that to null. And see if it still works. Okay, it is blank, right? Sometimes you can't tell between blank and like empty. So it's obviously it's saying that this is pending in like future. So we don't have this D row. So this is saying, well, it is still pending. Now, of course, the way to solve that, you don't want to show future dates because this guy will keep going. If you have calendar table to 2025, you would use something like a future date or current month offset to not show it. Does that make sense? You might have seen this phenomena when you use year-to-date measures and other things like that, where it starts showing the data in the future. Have you seen stuff like this?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Right. Cool. So that's like a separate thing. But if we look at whatever data we had, I mean, we did it till January 10th. So if I go here and crop it, I just want to kind of compare till 10th. And yeah, so this one is not showing blank dates. Let's change that. We covered that today. Who was the caller who asked that? That was Lindsay. So we know how to do that. So we're going to go in here and say, show me. Come on, items with no data. So let's try that again. Until January 10th. So now if we come back over here and just kind of compare it. So we got 1100 or blank. 111221. All right, so this is good. All right, so we got to this point, but then you had something more for me, which was, let's create a few other scenarios here. So D&E, and so if there was an order which was delivered on the same day, let's do 111. Let's just go beyond that. 111 2019 and 111 2019, 112 2019. All right, so generally we're so let's go 111 2019, 112 2019. So let's try it. So on 1/11/2019, there is the C order that's pending, and you're saying this order is also pending, right? And E is pending as well. And on 12th, C is still pending, D is done, and is E pending or not on the 12th?
Not on the 12th, it's on the 11th.
Yeah, so that was it. All right, so if we do same day delivery, we count that day. we count the date of the delivery as pending, but if it's anything else, then on the delivery date it's not pending, right? So there's a little bit of that. So this one would be 3 and this one would be 1. How would you approach that? How would you change our logic? And let's put that in there. Do you think you would be able to kind of take it from there, from what we have right now? So again, I mean, human learning to machine learning, that's all we're doing. We taught ourselves how to do it, and then we got to teach the machine. So we taught a simple version, and now we have a slightly, so as humans, we did one more step. So let's look at this. So earlier, the logic was that if the date that I'm trying to evaluate, so always when I'm building these measures, I always think of like a single cell. And you saw me do that when I was thinking about it in my head. I was like, well, what's happening with January 1, right? So I say, what's happening on January 12th, right? Or something like that. So I think that way. And then I say, well, I'm on January 12th, and I just want to see. So January 12th is kind of my marker, is like orders which were ordered before that time and delivered later, or have not been delivered, right? So orders that were before the time or have been delivered later. That was my logic. So I said, well, so I said orders that were ordered before the selected time and that were delivered later. So that's what I started with, right? You saw how I did it really step by step, right? So orders which were ordered before the selected date but delivered later, and then we said, oh, well, what about which haven't been delivered? And then we added that logic. And now we have one other logic, which is, well, if so order date. So let's see what happens. The one in question here is like D and E. D well, not actually. I don't know which one. Maybe we focus on this one. Let's try that. So we focus here, and we say. So if you're looking at D, was it ordered before this date? Less than or equal to? It was. So this part is good, right? I mean, this part is check. But then in a current logic, it says, well, was it delivered in the future? Select a date less than that, and that's not. It doesn't. It says false. Yeah, you know what? I can see it, but why don't you take a shot at it? And if you're still stuck, we'll solve it. I mean, I don't want to keep you like waiting for next week. I have faith in you. I think you will be able to solve it. It's just, take the human logic, put it in Power BI.
Yeah, I will.
Want to take a shot?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm really gonna take a shot at this one because I've been breaking my head on this one.
All right. Yeah. So I'll leave the last mile to you. Awesome. So I'm gonna save these working files in our Talk Power BI folder. And if you have signed up for the through talkpowerbi.com, you should have access to the download files. You can grab it from there. All right.
Thanks very much.
All right, man. Hey, it was great talking to you, and I'm really glad that you kind of opened up and shared your journey and that stuff as well. So thank you for that.
Thanks again, Avi, for your time, and I love these sessions, and every time I learn so much, even from the other people on YouTube, and everybody's calling in. So that's basically, this is also a big step for me, like calling in, seeking help.
That's great. Yeah. So kudos to you. I mean, I certainly really enjoyed kind of hearing your story. I mean, there's so much in there. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
2901, we're on 18. This was Shant, and we'll say it was a scratch pad. We just had our notes in here. Whew. Folks, that was a blast. Let's see. So, hey, I'm going to... Prashant, thank you so much. That was a good question, my friends. Let's check back in on YouTube. So I hung up on my class. If you're on YouTube watching me, thank you for that. But yeah, so let's see what's going on over here. So hey, we only have a small crowd left. Okay. All right, cool. So I'll share something else with you guys, and let's kind of end on that note. So I did say that the Six Figures, this program is open, and I've been, so the process for that has been that I've been talking to these people, and it's been really insightful. For one, I had all my doubts before I ever had the courage to offer this program. I've been thinking about this for such a long time because I saw that. I mean, I saw that a while ago where, the dynamic that I talked about, that, man, you can like really focus on technical skills and climbing the mountain, but realize that doesn't offer success. Now, of course, how do you define success, right? In material terms or other terms? Either way, it doesn't guarantee success. Now, of course, that journey itself can be rewarding and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, why shouldn't that reflect in your outer world too? And I really think that, yeah, the inner journey is rewarding, but I feel that we're here to make an impact, We're here to touch lives. So I don't know. I mean, right? I mean, so what if you went out there and found this big success? And I think that's a direct correlation to making a bigger impact, right? I mean, keys to success: solve bigger problems or help more people. That's it. And either way, you're making a bigger impact. So I wanted to kind of that's what I wanted to go. But two things came up in these calls. One, all of them, well, there was one exception who didn't join, but all of them whom I spoke to talked about helping others. In fact, one, I mean, that was, almost got emotional. I mean, they talked about their struggle and their upbringing, and they said, I want to be in a position where I can help others so they don't have to face that. So they all talked about helping others at some level, but there was this other thing. They all talked about, they would say something like, I realized that I'm going to have to like spend long hours on this. I'm going to have to work really hard for the 9 to 12 months. I realized that I'm going to have to take time away from my family and blah, blah, blah. And I challenged that narrative. I challenged that. And frankly, one person who didn't join didn't agree with me on that one. And that's okay. I respect that. But so I've been thinking about it, and frankly, part of me is afraid of speaking out, because I know there would be people who would dismiss it, maybe call me names or something. But yeah. So this narrative of that hard work is gonna lead to my success. Hard work, success, and for one, I question, like, where the heck do we get this from? But man, we get this from everywhere. I mean, you go hard work, success, and everybody's talking about it, and they can't be wrong. I mean, gosh, these are really powerful people. So, I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk, if he says it, it has to be right. I'm not so sure, right? So of course and we saw it with our parents and growing up, right? So we, my dad, he worked his tail off, right? He worked long days. He traveled. He would get up at 4 a.m. to catch a flight, long commute, all his life. That's what he did, just right. But I think the world has changed, and we can create a different reality for us, and we have that power. So I challenge the narrative that hard work equals success. I mean, and there's so many ways to think about it. I'll just give you one, or maybe a few. We'll see. One is that imagine you're earning $50,000 a year, right? And you want to earn $100,000 a year. What do you think is needed? Do you think you need to work double the number of hours? Well, maybe you don't need to work double the numbers. Maybe you need to work like 50% more hours. But you see that doesn't scale. Like, how the heck do you become a billionaire? It doesn't scale. I mean, and the people who made $1 billion, they didn't do it that way, right? Okay, let's look at it another way. Have you seen people out there, maybe experienced it yourself, who kind of are equally talented, work the same number of hours, but don't get the same kind of success, don't get the same results? Man, I saw it all the time. I was a victim of that myself for many years. Man, I would be like cranking out stuff, but my career wouldn't go anywhere. And do you know somebody who has seemingly found the success without kind of hard work? And of course, we kind of bring them down. We feel like they cheated or they were some unfair. But assuming they didn't actually cheat or actually employ any means like that, you would see examples of people who have found success without necessarily kind of sacrificing themselves, sacrificing their family lives. Isn't that an example of that is possible? Right? So I'm not saying hard work never leads to success. Obviously, it does in some cases, but that's not the only path. And I feel that you create your own reality. So if you approach life with the assumption that I need to work hard to succeed, guess what kind of reality you create? You would be working really hard. And the thing about life is that, man, the goalpost, it always moves. And this is what we do. We say, I'm going to work hard right now so that when I achieve this next goalpost, I can relax then. I can take it easy then. But you know that that's not going to happen, right? That's not going to happen because goalposts always move. You climb a mountain, there's another one. That's never going to change. Because, hey, that's human. We love growth. We love challenges, and that's great. But we recognize that's never going to change. Then you realize you're fooling yourself, right? You're leaving this deferred life plan. When this happens, then this. If then. Man, I'm sick and tired of that, right? So if you keep that mindset that hard work leads to success, and then you're working towards a goal, but the goalposts keep moving, just admit that that's going to happen, right? Do you think you can change? When you meet this goal that you were working hard towards, maybe you enjoy it for some time, brief period. But then you are going to set another goalpost. We're human, we're going to do that. How do you think you're going to approach that? If you have that mindset, then hard work is what got me here. Hard work is what's going to get me there. You will always be working hard. And again, I'm not saying that there's no correlation or but I think there is another possibility. And frankly, at this point, I just want to open that door just a crack. If you just question that, like, well, I've been trying that all my life. Is there another way? Just to kind of question that. And I think that leads you to new possibilities, leads you to seeing things in a new way. And of course, all right, so cool. So, folks, I'll end at that. So, Sam, I think it resonates. He says, smart hard work is success. Frankly, I think that words are really powerful. So, I try not to use the word that I want in my life, right? So, for one, what is hard work? If you're doing what you love, is that hard work? Probably not. If you're working long hours, is that hard work? Is that what I want, right? So what is hard work for me? What does that mean? For me, that's doing long hours and doing something that I don't like. Either of those would be hard work for me. So frankly, I want neither in my life. I want to be there for my kids. I want to spend time with them, right? So I don't want to be working long hours, and I don't want to be working on stuff that I don't want. So I don't use that word. I don't use that word. I never say to myself that that's what I need, right? So a hard thing, that thing is gone. And of course, you've heard me say this I try to slip in my earlier Power BI training where I said, if you think DAX is hard, it's always going to be hard for you. I mean, that's who were we talking with? It was Prashant, right? Oh no, Heather. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right? So we create our own reality. All right, so that was a little metaphysical, if you will, but folks, I don't know. I feel like that's where the good stuff is. Frankly, for me, that's where I feel my biggest growth has been. So it's been an amazing journey to build this business, and I feel so happy and proud and blessed that I have this ability to impact others, so many people. But the biggest journey has been this inner journey, and yeah, I feel like I'm doing a disservice if I don't share that at least a little bit. Cool. All right, my friends, I'll see you next time. Until then, power on.